This podcast is a member of the Place to Be Nation family. Visit us at placetobenation.com, the only place to be in your pop culture world.
Place to Be Nation Wrestling Network. Welcome to the latest episode of Who's Next? I am Andy Atherton, one of your co-hosts here. It's been a little bit, life happens, summer happens, things happen, but you know what else happens? A lot of stuff happened on the NXT brand over the last, maybe a little under 2 months or so. So we're going to break it down. Of course, whenever I say we, I don't mean me, I mean myself and my co-host. I love talking wrestling with this guy and just enjoy doing pods with him in general. The Mud Pie, Logan Crosland. Logan, it's been a bit for us to be on a pod doing our show here. You know, like I said, stuff gets in the way, and you are a very busy gentleman, especially doing the weekly show, The Cross Up, over on the Backbone Wrestling Network. But I always look forward to getting to talk and break down NXT with you. How have you been, my friend?
Yeah, I've been pretty good. We missed the beginning of school. I believe your son is senior this year,
yep.
So we're into senior year. So my wife, I think it's almost started school by the last time we recorded, which is how long she's fucking been in already. So, but yeah, we've been out a while, but we're back, and we'll talk about some exciting stuff tonight.
Well, yeah, it was a big summer. I mean, a lot of crossover, a lot of heel turns, a lot of, surprises, what have you. It's been fairly exciting over there in the NXT brand, and like we always say, we love talking about it because it's constantly changing, constantly evolving. New faces come in, they, some graduate, some come back. You never know who could show up, and on our next episode, we're going to be talking about a lot of stuff because they are. Not to jump ahead at all, but they are really, really building up those first few episodes on the move to CW starting in October. So, we're recording this here on September 11th. So this show will cover NXT from July 23rd until September 3rd. We are, just up to current day here on what we're going to go through. So we're going to cover all the TV plus No Mercy. And kind of, we don't want to shortchange anything that happens. So, like we've been doing a little bit with changing up the format slightly. Not going to deep dive into all the shows. We're going to deep dive into No Mercy. Obviously, I'll read out all the the play-by-play, if you will, of all the matches. But for the TV episodes, we're going to go through. We're going to talk about the matches briefly. Maybe if there's any highlights, anything stood out to us. Some of the backstage stuff, some of the angles, some of the anything else that may have happened that may be of interest that are talking points that have effect and long-lasting ramifications on things going on the brand. So, okay, all the way back to Tuesday, July 23rd. We start off with Trick Williams making his way to the ring, and he calls out Ethan Page. Then Cedric Alexander shows up, followed by Ashante Theodonis, and that sets up a match later in the night. So, I believe they had just started to appear. Cedric and Adonis had started to appear. I don't know if it was vignettes or they started to appear on NXT, but these are two talented guys. I mean, especially Cedric. Ashante is kind of the forgotten man of Hit Row, where it was, Swerve was the lead guy, Top Dollar was, the meme generator or what have you, and you had BFAB. But, Adonis, I mean, we didn't see much of him outside a few tag matches. So I think these guys are a good matchup. Cedric, super talented. I think having them down at NXT, especially Cedric, will be really good because he could also be like a player coach while he's down there imparting his wisdom. So what do you think about these two guys coming to the NXT brand?
Yeah, I want to say on the episode before this that we covered, the last episode we covered last time, like Stevie Turner and Mr. Stone have kind of been like competing to win Ava's heart or whatever, to like be her like head assistant or whatever.
Oh, that's right.
And I think one brought in one and one brought in the other just to kind of, be like, oh, I brought this new superstar in. Oh, but I did too, and this one's, like this one's better than this one or whatever. But yeah, no, they're two talented guys. Like you said, Ashante kind of fell behind Top Dollar and Swerve when it came to Hit Row. But I think he's talented. I don't know, like you said, outside of some tag matches, you haven't really seen him. I think they were pretty consistently on like main event and stuff, like the C shows and stuff like that. But so I mean, if you're a main watcher of that, which even I'm not psychotic enough to do that, so
or WWE speed these days too.
Yeah. I think if you're into that kind of stuff, these guys were on there pretty often. But yeah, Cedric's super talented. Like you said, he could be kind of a player coach out there, so not bad to have some kind of veteran guys down there. And I think they tagged a little bit on those kind of main event shows as well. So another tag team would never be too bad.
Yeah, they started doing vignettes on the main roster, but obviously they, even veterans could use some time down in like NXT to kind of reestablish, work on some things and kind of reintroduce yourselves to the main roster once you come back, kind of work out those kinks in a smaller, arena, so to speak.
Exactly.
So, yeah, excited for that. Okay, so our next match, kind of a reversal of something we've seen. It's Josh Briggs versus Brooks Jensen, no DQ match. This time, though, the roles are reversed. Briggs was kind of the heel last time, and Jensen was the kind of lost babyface, but now he's the lost heel. And these guys kind of go at it, kind of beat the crap out of each other. Jensen ends up winning by a pinfall with a DDT onto a steel chair. And then that's it for seeing Josh Briggs for a while. So any thoughts on this direction? Because we're going to talk about Brooks quite a bit as we go through these shows. But any thoughts on these two former best friends beating the crap out of each other?
Yeah, I mean, it was an inevitable matchup to happen again. They've been kind of arguing and doing a lot of stuff lately. Briggs kind of stood up for him to keep him around when Ava and Sean were thinking about firing him on all that stuff. So, yeah, I mean, it's kind of weird to see Briggs. He somewhat goes out here. I really don't think we see him again in any of things that we're going to talk about, or it's really in passing if we do. But yeah, Brooks becomes pretty prominent. I don't know whether we'll talk about that throughout the episode, but I don't know if that's particularly a good thing. But
I mean, it can't be, honestly, and I've not been very high on Brooks, but anything is better than what he was doing before, because he was kind of like just forgettable. Not it wasn't like anything like. I did not like his acting. I didn't like the character. I thought, his ring gear looked ridiculous. So any kind of change is better for him.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, like I said, I don't think we see Briggs again for the rest of the couple months. So I don't know if he's hurt or if they're just kind of trying to change direction with him, but we'll see, I guess.
Yeah, maybe they just did this they also wrote him off TV just to maybe a repack. Maybe he needs to heal. Maybe lingering injuries. Who knows? But,
JBL is doing a world tour right now, so maybe you could come in and manage him or something like that.
Yeah, because he's kind of like JBL 2.0 in some ways. Okay, so then we got Axiom and Nathan Frazier chatting backstage when all three members of the Rascals roll up. That sets up a trio match later in the night. More dissension between the tag champs is teased about them not focusing as much as a tag, with having speed matches, Heritage Cup matches, yada, yada, yada. Then we also have backstage Last Legend, Jakara Jackson rolling up on three of the NXT Blondes. That's what the note said. It was probably something like Brinley, Kendall, and the other one that's
Carmen.
Yeah. No, I don't know if it was Carmen. It might have been the other one. There's so many of them. I mean, control Izzy in there too. But so that sets up a match for later in the night. Then we get Eddy Thorpe versus Lexis King in one of the most ridiculous feuds ever, Battle of Music Taste. And we got Eddy Thorpe winning via pinfall with a lifting DDT. We get a post-match, Lexis trapping Eddie's arm in the steel steps and breaks the scepter over his hand. And then we get Trick Williams interview backstage with Pete Dunne kind of glowering in the background. So, this Eddy Thorpe Lexis King thing, Lexis King to me is like, he seems like a guy stuck in the 80s, which I kind of dig because that's my era. Mm-hmm. But Eddy Thorpe as a DJ, we've talked about that, how much we kind of like, ugh, whatever. But, Tataka 2020s wasn't maybe that wasn't really working for him. So, any thoughts on this? Because we're going to see more from these two as we talk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, anything to give him maybe a little bit more personality can't be bad, I guess. But yeah, a feud over music is not particularly something I want to see. Lexis is one of those guys. Like, I think he has talent somewhere deep down in there, but I feel like they keep trying to dig and dig and dig, and it's just like he's only ever going to reach like a certain level. I feel like it just anywhere. I think he was in a rut in AEW, and I feel like he's kind of there now. So
maybe he needs a group, like
yeah.
Not to say somebody's a queen, but he's Lexis King. Maybe there's a prince. I don't know, something like that, like a royal family, but with just like in name only, not wearing the crowns and all that shit.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of.
Yeah, that could be something for sure. Yeah, I mean, he could probably use somebody to kind of play off of, but yeah.
Maybe a valet even too.
Yeah. Just somebody to kind of like in promos just to play off of and use as like a person that could help him win matches and all that kind of jazz. But yeah, he probably just needs a little some extra spice, I guess. I don't know. But he's just not something. Yeah, he's just not hitting like I think they want him to.
Yeah, when I think about music battles, and you know how bad my memory is, but this also reminds me, it like pops in my head, the feud between PN News and Johnny B. Bad on who was the true rap master in WCW. That was something. Anyway, so our next match is Ashante Theodonis versus Oro Mensah. We get Adonis flirting with Jakara during the match. We get Oro Mensah, though, winning the match via pinfall with a Shinjiro Otani spinning wheel kick. We get Oro calling out Ethan Page post-match. Then we got Charlie Dempsey backstage showing Tony D a ransom note. Wren Sinclair rolls up and takes credit for it. Tony says not to give her whatever she wants, and for Dempsey's sake, she better not lose. So that leads us to our next match after that, which is Carly Bright versus Wren Sinclair. The No Quarter Catch crew interferes. We got Kendall Gray, who was probably that other blonde I couldn't think of. And she attacks Miles Bourne, but Wren Sinclair wins via pinfall with a folding press with some help from Charlie Dempsey. First of all, I like Oro Mensah, but he's not a guy I can really get behind. But it was nice to see him, kind of get built up a little bit in Noam Dar's absence. I really am a fan of Wren Sinclair. We've talked about this, I think, on our last episode. I'm glad they gave her a character finally, and No Quarter Catch crew a lot of groups could actually use a woman, because I feel like there are times when there's a group, mainly like a heel group, right? And they have men and then like one woman, and then the woman never gets her comeuppance. So I like adding that so that way then you have the other factions that have a woman in them. Kind of, it evens the odds, and I kind of enjoy that, because it kind of annoys me a little bit when you just see that constantly and there's like nobody to put them in their place. It just leads I don't know. It's not one of my favorite things. But what are your thoughts on Mensah kind of getting this little push, and Wren Sinclair, her newfound character and possibly joining the No Quarter Catch group?
Yeah, Mensah, it's good to see him kind of getting a spot to kind of show what he can do without Noam there. I think he's obviously better when Noam's there. I think they're better kind of playing off each other, kind of like we were talking about with Lexis. So he is missing a little something when Noam's not there. But he is a talented guy. He's very talented in ring, so I think it's good that he's kind of getting this shot. But, I think this is kind of, with this thing with Ethan Page is maybe like a one and done kind of situation. So we'll talk about that when they get to their match. But anything to make the NQCC any more exciting, adding a little flavor, even if it's a little ditzy flavor that always gets them in trouble, seemingly with Wren. So I think she adds something to him for sure, and she's pretty good in ring as well. So. But yeah, I like the addition for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think Mensah is talented too, but to me, he's a mid-card guy. That's the only thing I'm like kind of like, Mensah versus Page. I mean, it's somebody that Page is easily going to, he's not going to lose the belt to him. So it's, I guess, a sacrificial lamb kind of thing. I don't know.
It's just to push the story along until he gets to the big boss at the end. Yeah.
Yeah, until his next real challenger emerges.
Mm-hmm.
So we go backstage. We got Javon Evans agreeing to beat Axiom and Nathan Frazier's tag team partner in the trios match. Then we got Chase U chatting backstage. Duke's disappointed. Ridge rolls up with new Chase U t-shirts for everybody. We get a Thea Hale sit-down interview about her title match upcoming with Roxanne Perez. And that leads us to our next match, which is Cedric Alexander versus Trick Williams. We get a solid match with Trick winning via pinfall with the high knee. We get post-match Pete Dunne attacking Trick and beating him down. Then we get some backstage stuff with Ethan Page and Stevie and Robert Stone. We get Kalani hanging out with some of the new girls backstage. Then the Shante Adonis rolls up with his I guess Casanova type character, and the newbie girls start to fawn over him. So and then we'll talk about one more match, and then we'll pause for a moment. So we get Carmen Petrovic and Sol Ruca take on the Metaphor, Jakar Jackson, and Last Legend in a tag team match. Metaphor wins via pinfall with back-to-back Bulldog from Lash on Carmen, and we get post-match Lash getting on the mic and demanding a tag title shot next week. So that's really, this is to set them up because, we feel that, the tag champs are going to be making an appearance in NXT very soon. But, the Cedric and Trick match, very good. Cedric, I don't think is capable of having a bad match, and also forwards this budding Pete Dunne Trick feud, which has become pretty, it's been pretty intense. Pete's kind of all over the place, with everything that's going on with him on the main roster. But here, this is almost, this gets to a really high boiling point here. But any thoughts on, the backstage stuff in these two matches?
Yeah, Pete Dunne's the hardest working man in the biz for sure. He has he's on Raw pretty much every week with Sheamus doing that thing. And then, he's obviously been on NXT a lot lately with this Trick Williams feud that honestly just ended last night on the episode that aired last night that we'll actually discuss next time, just because we weren't sure we were going to be able to watch it in time or, all that stuff. But obviously, honestly, like I said, it just ended last night. I think that was kind of the blow off. But obviously this furthers that along. Like you said, Cedric probably can't have a bad match if he tried. And the interview with Thea before that obviously sets up her match with Roxanne at Great American Bash. They even play into the fact that she had the Great American Bash title shot last year with Tiffany. And obviously didn't win the big one then, so they kind of ask her what's different. She says she's kind of grown. She obviously has a bigger, more sturdy group now, she feels like. So she just feels a little more confident going into this one. And then, the tag match, it was just a way to get the Metaphor girls over. And they obviously demand the tag title shot for the Great American Bash Night 1 the next week as well. So, solid stuff all around. And Ridge trying to kind of get in the good graces of the other guys and Chase U with the new shirts and stuff like that. So we'll see that kind of percolate and escalate throughout the few weeks that we'll get through.
All right. So then we get Roxanne coming out complaining about Thea getting a sit-down interview and not her. We get Ethan Page coming to the ring with a referee in tow. Oro then runs in and gives him a schoolboy, and the ref counts to 3. He's not happy about that. We got Tony D respecting what Charlie did for Wren, so he says he'll give Tavion Heights a Heritage Cup title match the following week. Then we move on to our main event for the night. Axiom, Javon Evans, and Nathan Frazier versus the Rascals, Trey Miguel, Wes Lee, and Zachary Wentz. This was balls to the walls. All these guys can go. All these guys can move. Javon Evans, it's funny, he is younger than my daughter. But older than my son. But I feel like this worried father whenever I see this kid wrestle, because I'm like, he is super talented, but he's crazy. He seems almost crazier than Jeff Hardy, it seems like, because I'm afraid this kid's gonna bust on. I hope to God nothing happens to this kid, but he just throws caution to the wind, and some may not know his own strength with his leaping ability, because he he gets close. He's become close to overshooting a couple times and knocking himself, into next week. But really fun match. We get the Rascals back together in a 6-man, something we had not seen in years, right, Logan? Well, I don't know. Last time all three of them were together was in TNA before Zach and Wes signed. Yeah. And they win via pinfall with the assisted shooting star press on Axiom, which is a move that I love, and I had seen a little bit of them on TNA Impact, and I was like, whoa, that was a very innovative move. I love when they get broken out. But yeah, if you haven't seen this match, you like to see 6 guys that can just fly all over the ring. Go and watch it. What are your thoughts on the closing moments of this show?
Yeah, no, that match was great. I'm pretty sure when I did the cross up for that week, it was in my top 5 matches of the week, probably top 3, honestly. But I know it was definitely up there the week that I did that match. But yeah, good to see the Rascals back together. Yeah, they hadn't wrestled as a 6-man squad since, what, like you said, Desmond was his name at first, but yeah, Wes and Zach came over. As MSK, obviously, Trey obviously stayed behind. But yeah, that was the first time since, probably 4 or 5 years since they've actually teamed as a 6-man. So, but yeah, ton of fun. Tony D kind of putting the swerve on the no quarter catch crew, challenging Tavion instead of Charlie. And then, continuing the Oro rolling up Ethan it's pretty entertaining because Ethan Page is a good enough character and actor that he can kind of do the freak out pretty good. So, and then Roxanne continuing the complaining that she's not getting respect and everybody else is getting the shots and the stuff that she should probably get. So, just continuing all that. But yeah, that main event was incredible for sure.
Has anybody come out to the ring? I mean, I don't think she does it in this, but come out to the ring to like announce or complain or to set up more than Roxanne has. I mean, it seems like every few episodes, Roxanne's in the ring, and then she's like saying stuff and calling on, and all of a sudden people come out to either challenge her or what have you. So it just seems like a recurring theme with this with her.
I feel like she like regularly gets like a show closing promo to like complain about something, and then they set up like you said, her next big challenger or whatever. But yeah, I don't not like her, but I'm starting to get like somewhat annoyed with her lately just because of that, because I feel like I feel like in like one of the, like I said, like one of the more recent episodes of the cross up, I was like, here comes Roxanne, and I didn't even write down what she said. I said it's the same promo she always cuts, she always complains that she's not getting respect, blah 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 blah. Here comes Chelsea Green, or here come whoever it is. I think I just wrote down she says the same thing she said last week, but yeah, she needs to I think she needs to move on for sure. I think she she has a big match that I think maybe we'll talk about at the end, but she has a big match coming up in episodes after we'll talk about tonight, but I think she might need to lose that one and get a new territory to go to.
Yeah, I think there's a few people that I think their time in NXT should be coming to a close in the next few months, hopefully.
I mean, she's so talented. She deserves to be, at the highest height. So
she's earned it. I mean, I think she'll be up sooner. But I mean, if she's not up by the Rumble or like starting at the Rumble, there's something wrong. Excuse me. Pardon me. All right. So then we move on to the show on July 30th. It is night 1 of the 2-week event, Great American Bash. And our opening match is for the WWE Women's World Tag Team Championship, with Alba Fire and Isla Dawn returning to the NXT brand to defend against the Metaphor, Jakari Jackson and Lash Legend. We get, a fun match. They're really, at the moment, the only kind of, Metaphor is probably the only real sort of established female tag team at the moment. We have some others kind of starting to come together. With the lack of women's tag belts there, I don't think they're putting too many women together in like teams, so to speak. But they have like groups or there's I don't know if we'll see like the days of like when we had Toxic Attraction and other teams around at the same time. But anyway, so then this match, we get Unholy Union winning via pinfall with the KLR bomb, reverse STO combination on Jakara. In the post-match, we get Ethan Page coming to ringside to mock Metaphor for losing. He goes for a cheap shot on Oro, but then Mensah gets a visual pin on him. And then we have Sean Spears confronting Cedric Alexander backstage while he's holding court with a group of rookies. Brooks Jensen rolls up and yells at Cedric, and a match is set for later in the night. So, thought the tag match was fine. Jakara and Lash. Jakara still, has a bit of work to do. She had missed quite a bit of time. I mean, her character is there, but I think the in-ring, she needs to just get more time, more repetition. Lash is getting, has been improving so much, and her character, everything. So I think she's somebody that, maybe another year or so, we'll see her on the main roster. What are your thoughts on this opening match?
Yeah, to the point where I think we were kind of low-key picking Lash to maybe win that North American's ladder match. Like we could see her kind of breaking out with that. But, yeah, she's definitely been improving. I think that, like you said, I think the injury really put Jakara back in like her development and stuff like that. I think she's kind of getting her sea legs back under at this point. She's still improving. She's not bad, but she obviously needs some just a little bit more ring time. But yeah, this match wasn't bad. Obviously a good way to get a main roster title down there. Yeah, I mean, I was always kind of against the NXT Women's Tag Team Championships, but and I'm not against them like putting teams together on NXT, but I don't know. The whole concept is just, I don't feel like they've ever really booked the women's tag titles right or well or anything like that. I feel like they've done better over the last year or so, but it's just a weird thing because I feel like it's not something you want to dedicate a ton of time to, but you kind of have to if it's something you're going to present out there. So,
you're not going to have NXT women's tag titles. What's the point of having established women's tag teams if what are they going to be fighting for? You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because I mean, you can have these matches, but no NXT team's ever going to beat the main roster tag team women's champions.
Maybe one day.
Maybe like, yeah.
Yeah, maybe they like sign some hot tag team from Stardom or something like that. You never know. Yeah. And maybe they come into NXT and they kind of dominate, and then it's not out of the realm of possibility. I mean, Santino Marella won the Intercontinental title. Was it Bobby Lashley, right?
Bobby Lashley helped him beat Umaga. Yeah,
beat him Umaga. Yeah. I mean, they do stuff like that. So it's not out of the realm of possibility. I don't see it happening anytime soon. Yeah. But yeah, you do make a really good point that like it's the chances of an NXT female tag team winning the WWE Women's Tag Team Championship is pretty slim.
Yeah, I mean, if you make a believable tag team on NXT that could possibly challenge one of these women, I'm okay with it. But it's just I'm okay with kind of establishing these teams, but I don't know if they necessarily need to be fighting for this championship at the point. But like you said, with the Oro stuff afterwards, obviously he gets another visual pin. So, Ethan Page, of course, sells that like a maniac as per usual. And then Sean Spears talking to Cedric. Sean Spears is kind of getting the rookie's head, brainwashing him, kind of getting to think like him. So said doesn't want to listen to him very much, but Brooks is the first one to kind of stand up for old Sean.
Mm-hmm. All right. So we move on to our next match. We get Tavion Heights challenging Tony D'Angelo for the NXT Heritage Cup. So we get the first two rounds. We don't get any points scored. Then in round 3, Tony hits a fisherman neckbreaker to go up 1-0. Then we get Tavion hitting a belly-to-belly suplex in round 4. He ties up at 1-1. Tony then wins the third and final fall by a pinfall with a thrust spinebuster, going up 2-1 to retain. I am starting to really come around on the Heritage Cup. I think having different people in it and kind of presenting it a little little. I think it's gone away from like kind of that British style, because that's I think really what it was a lot, and it's kind of been a mix of different people in it. It's not, you see like high flyers, power guys, strong style, catch style, all that stuff, mixing it up, and I think that's been really good. I also think that having other, not that it's hot potatoing, but having other people in there besides Noam every week, I think has really gotten it over as well. So and Tavion Heights, I mean, this guy, he could be the real deal. I mean, a significant upgrade over Damon Kemp. I mean, it is like night and day. So what are your thoughts on this match?
Yeah, and to speak to, I think it finally got put on a character that people actually care about. And Tony D, I think that helps. I think that the Cup being with somebody that's like that's entertaining, that's definitely well improved in the ring since he's debuted, a few years ago. And he's a character that people are super behind and stuff like that. So I think that helps a lot. Not that Noam's not good or over or anything like that, but he can be boring. He's not the most exciting guy per se, but Tavion's a unit. He's a fucking hoss of a human being. He's exciting. He makes that technical style pretty exciting. He throws a ton of great suplexes and stuff like that. So, but yeah, I think it definitely helps that Tony D has the Cup, had the Cup right now, and kind of establish it a little bit more to maybe an audience that kind of got bored with the old style of how it was done.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly, that was me. I was kind of bored with it, and now I'm not.
Yeah, and I think they were throwing more different styles in there, like you said, with Nathan's challenge for it and stuff like that, and just throwing some different styles in there definitely helped.
All right, very good. So we move on to our next match, which is Brooks Jensen versus Cedric Alexander. And on the floor, we get Brooks coming up lame after missing a spinning wheel kick that finds only the announce table. And we get Cedric winning via pinfall with the lumbar check, which is a move I really enjoy, especially when he hits it and whoever he hits it with gets some serious height. It looks so good.
It does.
And then we have Joe Hendry, I believe, is in the ring for his concert. He does it by running down Joe Coffey. They have not. There's been some backstage stuff between them. They're all being Scotsmen. Now, Gallus has said that he does not represent Scotland like they or Drew McIntyre does. And we get Gallus coming to interrupt the concert. They talk some trash and they end up putting the boots to Joe Hendry. And then we move on to our next match after that, which is Jaida Parker versus Kendall Gray. We get Miles Bourne and Wren Sinclair getting into it on the outside with Carly Bright on the floor. Then Kendall comes out and suplexes Miles Bourne, but then back inside the ring, Jaida wins via pinfall with a running knee. So, we get a pretty decent match between Brooks and Cedric. We get, the Joe Hendry stuff kind of, keeping him busy for a minute, with some guys that he can go over. And then we get Jaida Parker as they start to build her up a little bit, it seems. And somebody, again, another person who has been improving in the ring week by week. Kendall Gray is one of the newbies that, you put her, Carly Bright, Wren, and Brinley Reese together, you might not be able to pick them apart, but she has shown some flashes here with, her being able to take down Miles Bourne. So any thoughts you want to add on these three segments?
Yeah, you could definitely put Carly Bright and Kendall Gray next to each other, and I could not tell you which one is which. And that's as an avid watcher of this show. I think I know what Brinley looks like. I think I could pick her out of a lineup, but those other two, I'd probably struggle.
Yeah. Carly and Kendall could be sisters. That's how closely they look like each other.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, Brooks and Cedric was entertaining, like you said. The lumbar check, like you said, is an awesome finisher. So yeah, anytime he can hit that and he gets some good height off the bounce, is a ton of fun to see. I do love a good Joe Hendry concert. I won't say this was one of his best. Watch some of his TNA ones; they're a lot better. But he does run down Joe Coffey pretty good here. I feel like the problem with this and a concert he does later is it's like the song's very repetitive. I feel like in previous TNA ones he's done, he's gotten pretty, I think he's getting a little bit more creative. Maybe had a little more time to write those or come up with those. So, but yeah, not a bad little segment. And then yeah, Jaida continues her ascent. Obviously winning this match pretty convincingly. So, yeah.
All right. So then we get our next match, which is a 6-woman tag match. We get Fallon Henley, JC Jane, and Jasmine Nix, this new little group, versus Carmen Petrovic, Lola Vice, and Sol Ruca. Kind of a new little thing together where we had Fallon and JC kind of, and Jasmine laying along like about kind of running down all the rookies, the new girls in NXT, saying they don't know anything, they don't respect anything. And they kind of targeted Carmen, Lola, and Sol. And we get the heels end up winning via pinfall with the big ending from Fallon on Carmen. We go backstage, and Tatum wants to play dolls with Kalani, who says no. But then Wendy Choo gives her a creepy stare, which makes Kalani run along. Then we move on to our main event for the night, which is Roxanne Perez defending against Thea Hale for the NXT Championship. We get a really fun back-and-forth match here. But in the end, Roxanne wins via pinfall with Pop Rocks, retaining the NXT Women's Championship. I kind of like this group. They're going to get a name soon, Fallon, JC, and Jasmine. I do hope, though, as much as they're making this group into something, I do kind of hope once Gigi comes back from her knee injury, that if they do move her and JC up to the main roster, they do put them back together as Toxic Attraction or something. But we'll see. I mean, Carmen, Lola, and Sol, they're kind of the, I guess, some of the top of the new class, if you will. They've all had title matches. They've all, for the most part, Carmen, does, if we fast forward a little bit, and not something we're going to talk about on this show, but she does answer a Jordan Grace Open Challenge on Impact. So, she's I think she's one of the more talented girls, as I've talked about before, in terms of how her kicks go and all that stuff. She looks very crisp in the ring. Lola and Sol are also there as well. So, yeah, this is a nice group. If you're going to focus on a group of newer girls to take some heat from some vets, that they're the ones to pick. The whole Tatum, Kalani, Wendy stuff, just building up towards Kalani's next challenger. Then we get a fun match with Roxanne and Thea. Those two can go, but in the end, you didn't think Thea was gonna really win this match. So, any thoughts on this last couple of matches?
Yeah, part of me kind of hoped that she did, but I kind of knew in my heart she wouldn't. Just to kind of have something different. Like I said, as we'll go even deeper into it, Roxanne's I feel like she's kind of reached the peak. But I understand that they kind of need her down there as a stabilizing force at the top of the division. So, but yeah, I kind of knew Roxanne was going to come away with that one. And yeah, you kind of have the 6 girls that are kind of on the precipice of that top. That top spot, maybe rising to that top spot, maybe kind of at the head of that North American women's title challenge kind of situation. Obviously, you have the group with the kind of more experienced girls, and then kind of the new class. Sol's been there a while. She had the knee injury that held her out for a while, so she's still kind of new, but been there a while at the same time. But yeah, Lola and Carmen are definitely newer than the rest of them. So, I mean, Jasmine's brand new, but she's obviously in there with 2 girls that have a ton of experience. But, yeah, that having all those girls together in a tag match to get them all featured was a smart idea. And yeah, I think that match worked out pretty well. And yeah, that main event match between Roxanne and Thea was pretty good. So, solid effort by both. Yeah. You kind of want to see Thea elevate and win the big one at some point, but maybe that'll happen down the line.
Yeah. I think, Jasmine is kind of further ahead than most girls we've seen in this turn, and I think they see some big things in her because, yeah, she's surprised. I was a little surprised when she started getting in the ring. I'm like, where she was at, in terms of how in the ring, how comfortable, how she was, because a lot of girls who hadn't really been in the ring on NXT it's a little rough in the beginning, and I don't know how much she was on Level Up, but that Pele kick of hers is pretty damn good. So
yeah, she's definitely talented, and I feel like she's got the character down pretty well from the segments that she's gotten in the back and stuff.
All right, so move on to the show from 8/6, which is Great American Bash Night 2, another stack card, and our opening match is Pete Dunne versus Trick Williams. These guys just beating the crap out of each other again. And Pete Dunne goes up in this one, getting the win via pinfall with the bitter end. Then we have a backstage party. We've also had Hank and Tank kind of like doing vignettes throughout both weeks. And there's like a summer barbecue, I guess, if you will, theme. And we get Lexis King showing up and bickering with Eddy Thorpe over the music. We're talking about how, hair metal bands, but wearing a Nirvana t-shirt. But, we won't say much more about that. But he ends up getting kicked out of the party. We move on to our second match of the night, which is for the NXT Women's North American Championship. Tatum Paxley challenging Kalani Jordan. We get Wendy Choo coming out mid-match. Kalani ends up winning via pinfall with a frog splash, retaining the title. Then post-match, Wendy Choo takes Paxley down in the aisle and chokes her out while staring down Kalani. So, again, a couple of great but really good matches to start this the show. They kind of, when they do these themed NXT shows, they kind of stack them a little bit, which is good. The Pete Dunne Trick Williams thing continues on. I think Tatum, is again, if we talk about she's been there a while. She's one of those, kind of mid-card veteran NXT girls that has really improved. I thought she was going to. I didn't think she was going to be lost a little bit, but I was kind of hoping, she was going to be part of that unholy, union going forward in some kind of group. But she's gotten her own kind of character that's in the sort of a similar realm, and I think she's been holding her own. I mean, they've sent her over to Impact as part of the crossover, so she's a girl that is pretty solid. So, any thoughts on these two matches?
Yeah, I mean, Pete and Trick was entertaining as well. Pete obviously gets the win back, wins with the bitter end. So good to see him, not completely lose face, loses the Trick, twice in a row or anything like that. So, but Lexis getting kicked out of the party, who cares with Eddie? And they just the music feud still not catching me or anything like that. Yeah, Tatum, it was good to see her kind of get a shot here. Yeah, I was worried, when all the Lyra stuff kind of ended and she had that one title shot that would kind of, she would kind of fade back to the back, kind of like she was when all the Diamond Mine stuff kind of ended up with her and that stuff. So, yeah, I mean, she's obviously seeming to be on the side of Wendy Choo. We'll see. But yeah, Kalani gets the win. Not shocking at all there. She just won the title, so she'll probably reign for a little bit. But obviously, Wendy Choo is coming for Kalani, so we'll see how that match goes.
All right. So backstage, we get the No Quarter Catch crew chatting. Wren rolls up, insists on being let in the group once she beats Kendall Gray. The family comes by and says if Wren wins her match, Charlie will get a Heritage Cup title match. So kind of put some stuff on the line here, some stakes. And we get our next match, which is All Ego Ethan Page defending his NXT Championship against Oro Mensah. We get Ethan Page winning via pinfall with the Ego's Edge. Then our next match after that is Joe Coffey versus Joe Hendry. We get some shenanigans here in this match with Joe Hendry pulling an Eddie Guerrero special with a chair, and the referee ends up ejecting Gallus, and Joe Hendry gets the win via pinfall. And then post-match, we get Joe Hendry being interviewed, says he likes it in NXT, and says he wants to stay around a little longer. So, yeah, Wren is still not officially in the No Quarter Catch crew, but she pretty much is, seemingly acting like she's already in. We get a decent match between Ethan Page and Oro Mensah. And again, Joe versus Joe here. The right guy goes over. I think Gallus, they've been featured a lot more, but I think it's time for them to go up to the main roster. And another tag team, mix it up a little bit. What are your thoughts on this part of the show?
Yeah, Drew could use somebody to take away that pesky CM Punk guy. So,
Although that feud's probably going to end soon too.
yeah. That maybe that's how they could end it. They could have a group come in and destroy Punk once and for all. I'm just playing. We'll see what that happens there. But yeah, I definitely think he deserves, or they deserve, whether we like them or not. They've been around. They've helped a lot. I feel like they've helped train some guys, or help with training of some guys that come in and do these like part-time matches. So I want to say Gallus like helped The Rock train a little bit when he came in for that last run or something like that. Some Logan Paul, somebody that's part-time or something to that effect. But yeah, that they're guys that probably deserve to be up on the main roster, and obviously, they're kind of spinning their wheels. They're not going to win the tag titles. Coffee's not going to be a guy that wins, the world title or anything like that. So, as much as I don't super enjoy them, I think they probably do deserve a spot up there. But yeah, the match wasn't bad. Obviously, Hendry wins the Battle of the Joes. And then the tag or the world title match, the NXT title match, wasn't bad. Obviously, Ethan was going to win. He just won the championship. He's not going to lose to old Oro, unfortunately. But yeah, not a bad match at all. And then Wren, acting like she's already in the group, and kind of putting a title shot or a Heritage Cup shot on the line. And then if Wren wins, she's obviously in the group as well. So definitely good to add any extra stakes to any match, kind of like that.
Mm-hmm. All right. So then backstage we get a Chase U segment where Ridge informs them that they have a tag title match the following week, but it's for him and Mr. Chase. We go back to the party. We get Sean Spears and Brooks Jensen talking. We get Robert Stone and Stevie Turner having an Eddy contest. Stone then ends up booking a multi-woman match out of the for the women that haven't had a title match yet. Stevie then tries to steal the credit for it, and they rush off to Ava's office to tell her. The Good Brothers roll up to poop the party and end up rolling with Hank and Tank. Then we go back to the ring. We get our next match, which is Kendall Gray versus Wren Sinclair. Decent short little match. Wren has really, gotten better. Another one who's improving a lot. The in-ring was there a little before the character. Now she's starting to put it together a bit more. Wren wins by a pinfall with a headlock driver, earning a spot in the No Quarter Cats crew, and Charlie Dempsey gets a title match. Then we move on to our main event for the night, which is the Tag Team Championship. Axiom and Nathan Frazier defending against MSK, Wes Lee, and Zach Wentz. So we get Axiom and Frazier winning via pinfall with the golden ratio from Axiom on Wes Lee, thus retaining the titles. However, the big story, post-match, we get Wes Lee turning on his friends. He ends up laying out Trey Miguel with a kick. Then Zachary Wentz tries to talk sense into him, but Lee hits him with a low blow and screams about how they left him alone. He then hits a running knee, which putting Wentz's head into the steel steps. So big finish to this episode. Wes Lee was one of those people I did not see. I wouldn't say I didn't see it coming, but I think they started to kind of tease that a little bit. And they will, as this feud emerges, they will kind of talk about all the times that Wes Lee has basically quit NXT. And you kind of thought that was what was going to happen here, but then he ends up, turning. And, it's been a while. I mean, would the Rascals heels at all over there in TNA? Because they weren't really heels at all. MSK wasn't heels, actually, in NXT. So this is the first I'm really seeing of him as a heel, and I'm kind of digging it. So what are your thoughts on the closing, the end of the stuff at the party, the women's match, and the tag title match with the aftermath?
I mean, I know I'm the TNA expert of the two of us for sure, but from my remembrance, they were mostly always faces. I know in recent TNA, Trey and Zach were heels. They were just kind of shitbag, like arrogant, heels. So them two have been heels for sure. I can't imagine they weren't at some point as the 6-man team, but For the most part, they were, they did this stuff with the treehouse and smoked they were obviously like smoking weed with each other, like in the little treehouse the segment that they've done in the past. I think they did that on NXT once. That we talked about last time, but yeah, they do the little segments in the back that are funny, and they act like they're doing like the circle that they did in that 70s show and stuff like that. So they probably were all heels at one point, but they were just kind of those like cocky little shitbag heels that
smarmy.
Kind of smarmy. They weren't like dicks or anything like that. They were just kind of arrogant little pricks. But yeah, that tag title match was super awesome as well. Definitely, I was definitely not expecting the turn. I think you've said it in the past. I think, before somebody quote unquote graduates NXT, especially in this newer era, they kind of want to test you both ways. Obviously, I think some people are really good faces, but before they kind of let you elevate, they want to see what you can kind of do as a heel. They did it with Braun Breaker for sure. He was a face for forever, and then that little, last 8 or 9 months that he was down in NXT, obviously he was like a super shitbag heel, and even did the tag team thing with Baron, of course. But they're just giving him that opportunity to be the heel, see what he can do. If he succeeds at that, I think they'll obviously raise him up within the next year or so. So definitely interested to see what he can do. I think he's probably better as a face, but we'll see.
Yeah, his offensive set is more baby face. I mean, the same thing they're doing with Roxanne too. I mean, Roxanne was one of those. If you had asked me that she was going to be, a heel and a top heel at that, I would have been like, no, she's like too much of a little baby face there. But she's pulling it off. It took them a little while.
It's weird. She's almost like too small to be a heel. Like I feel like she's like, I don't know, she's not like imposing at all. She's really good at what she does, but like I almost feel like somebody that small can't be like the heel that they need her to be or something like that.
Yeah.
And back to the fucking eating contest, that was the stupidest fucking segment. I laughed when we were talking about it, but the whole barbecue that Hank and Tank had was funny, but that part was like,
well, what are we doing every year?
Yeah.
They seem to do some kind of summer cookout or party or something just to get more people on camera, maybe, move some stuff forward. But I don't know. This Stevie Turner Robert Stone thing, I don't know if I'm all on board with it. So
I feel you.
Because, well, anything's better than our GM, because still don't like her as our GMs. I just can't. I just don't buy her. I'm sorry, and she's not good, like on screen. There's nothing against her, but she's. I think they should have had her maybe, go back into like developmental and kind of work on some other stuff, and maybe she just said she wanted to be an on camera figure, but not a wrestler. Who knows? And with who her dad is, that's going to happen.
Yeah, she's always going to have opportunities based on that, especially with him like being on the board and stuff now. So,
yeah.
All
right.
But yeah, I'm not a huge fan of that spot either. But it's good to use her somehow. But we'll see.
All right. So move on to the next episode, which is from August 13th, and of course it starts off with Wes Lee, explain yourself. Why did you do it? And he asks why he turned on the Rascals, and he says it's just time for him. Or time for me to start taking what's mine, which is, usually whenever a tag team or a group splits up, that's usually what the heel person who goes heel usually says. Then we get Ethan Page coming to the ring and says the era of ego will roll on. Wes Lee won't take neither Trick Williams or Pete Dunne won't take it from him. Then we get Joe Hendry coming down. He talks down Ethan Page. Wes Lee then shows up out of nowhere, super kicks Joe in the face. So the Wes Lee, he was asked, this was backstage, so sorry if I misspoke there. So Wes Lee was backstage when he was asked. Then Ethan comes out to the ring. He's the only one out there. And then he mentions Wes, Trick, and Pete, but then Joe Hendry comes out. Then Wes Lee shows up out of nowhere, super kicks Joe in the face. And then we get Ava announcing that there will be a No Mercy Gauntlet Eliminator match next, made up of 6 women who have never had a title match chosen at random. The first 3 names pulled are Wren Sinclair, Adriana Rizzo, and Sol Ruca. So we start off with a little, non-in-ring stuff here. We get, Wes Lee explaining himself. We get a little setup here between our top contenders, if you will, because, Wes Lee, the greatest North American champion of all time, of course, becoming a heel, he's going to move up a little bit in the pecking order. And Trick and Pete Dunne are there already. Joe Hendry has been winning matches. So what are your thoughts? And then also Ava officially announces the Gauntlet match in the first 3 names. So what are your thoughts on these segments?
Yeah, I mean, Wes has to kind of elevate, or he's never going to be able to fight for a championship again. I already pissed away the tag team, so.
He can't challenge Oba Femi.
Yeah, he can't challenge Oba, obviously. So he's got to, if he wants gold, he's got to go for the big one. So, I mean, I think he's elevated to the point where he could be considered for that. So it's not out of the realm of possibility. I mean, I think he's going to have to get some big wins, obviously, to get there, but he's definitely talented enough and a guy that they see at the height of the pecking order for sure. So, but yeah, Ethan comes out, talks shit about all of his contenders. Hendry obviously has problems with that, but then Wes kind of asserts himself into that picture and super kicks Joe in the face. And then, the Gauntlet Eliminator, once they said it was kind of people who had never had a title match before, and 2 of the 3 names they chose, I was like, we'll see how this goes. I mean, I like Wren, but Rizzo, we'll see. And then, when they drew Sol's name, I was like, it'll be her that eventually wins this, but I ended up being wrong. So we'll talk about that.
Hasn't Sol, though, had a title match before?
I don't think so.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I was a little surprised they put Rizzo in this. She's not horrible, but still green.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I was a little surprised her name was picked, but, we'll see what happens. Our next match, our opening match for the night, actually is Tony D'Angelo defending the NXT Heritage Cup against Charlie Dempsey. In the first round, Charlie has him in a submission, but Tony gets saved by the bell. Then in the second round, Tony wins a fall, goes up 1-0. No points are scored in round 3. And then round 4, we get, Charlie tying it up 1-1. In round 5, we got Miles Bourne interfering, and Stax gets Tony to do that hip toss where he throws him over the top rope to take him out. Then the ref gets distracted. Wren interferes to allow Charlie to hit a dragon suplex and gets the pin and wins the Heritage Cup 2-1. Then we get backstage interactions between Lola Vice, Kalani Jordan, and Tina Paxley. And then our next match for the night is Eddy Thorpe versus Lexis King again. We get Lexis defeating Thorpe with the Coronation in somewhat of a short match. And then a pre-tape of Trick Williams say he's going to take care of Pete Dunne. So, I enjoyed this Heritage Cup match. Charlie Dempsey, I always thought the in-ring was there. His style is a little different than a lot of people. It's the whole Timothy Thatcher kind of style. But, giving him kind of having him be like this frustrated guy, this guy who's trying, it seems like he's trying everything to like show some personality. I do admire that. And I think, again, another case of Tony D elevating. I think without the interactions between the family and the No Quarter Catch crew wouldn't be improving and more over as they are now. And also the addition of Wren, of course, obviously adds to that.
Yeah.
I thought this was a fun match. It's good to see, as much as I don't like seeing the Don lose, I think he's bigger than the Heritage Cup.
Yeah.
So it'll be nice for him to move on. And then Eddy Thorpe versus Lexis King. This is like, I'm not really invested in this feud at all. Eddy Thorpe, I'm still kind of needs to grow on me. Lexis King, I do like the kid. What we talked about earlier, though, there's some stuff missing to his package, and once those other parts fall into place, he'll be, much better and start moving up the card. So, what are your thoughts on the Heritage Cup match and the other match after that?
Yeah, I mean, Lexis, they just don't need to be fighting over music taste. Like, that's just a stupid thing. I know I keep coming back to that, but, like, that's just a stupid thing.
Well, it is. It's dumb. It's a dumb reason to have a feud.
Yeah, but obviously Lexis gets his win back here. I think he attacks him before the match, so it was kind of unfair to start off with. So I think he obviously kind of had a leg up before the match even started, and he had attacked him after the match in a previous week where he injured the hand. So, but yeah, the Heritage Cup match was really, really good. Probably one of the best we've probably seen overall, just in general. Yeah, sad to see Tony D lose the cup, but I think Charlie's kind of elevated over the last few months. I think he's one of those guys that like you said, having Wren there, he has somebody that has some charisma, kind of bounce off of, to maybe get him a little bit more comfortable and kind of good with that side of things. He's always going to be dry. That's just kind of who he is. I think that's just kind of his personality. But playing off of somebody who's real bubbly and sparkly like Wren is, kind of is good for him. So having her there has definitely elevated him. But being in there with a pro like Tony D also has done that. So it'll be exciting to see what Charlie does with it from here. But yeah, Tony D I think is headed for something else, as we'll kind of talk about as we go.
Yeah, one thing about No Quarter Catch Crew in the original incarnation, nobody had real personality, right? You had Kemp, Bourne, Charlie. They were most 2 out of 3 are good in the ring. Charlie is really good in the ring. He's that, but there was you can't have no personality. You can have 1 or 2 people in a large group and they can kind of get hidden, or they would play off other people. So that's probably why it was, to me, it was boring. And I just didn't really care about them. I like Charlie Dempsey, so I wanted to see him do well. But the other guys I don't care about. Bourne, he's just there right now for me. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, Kemp I thought was bad in Diamond Mine. He was bad in No Quarter Catch Crew, so I was not a fan of his. So I'm happy that they're finally starting to hit their stride. That's the thing too about NXT is they can make mistakes. They can let things kind of play out a little longer to see if they can get it corrected and get it better, and that's what's happened here. So I think that's a good thing. All right,
for sure.
So our next match will be Lola Vice versus Tam Paxley, who are 2 of the contenders for the North American title. We get Kalani Jordan on commentary. We got Wendy Choo hopping the barricade and choking Kalani out. We get Lola hitting a spinning back fist on Tatum and get the pinfall. We go backstage, and the next 3 spots for the women's gauntlet match are picked, and it's Jaida Parker, Kendall Gray, and Carmen Petrovic. The only one out of that group that was a little surprising is Kendall Gray, although she's been featured in matches a bit more lately. We go back out to the ring, and we have Wes Lee in the ring to explain himself and his actions. We get Pete Dunne coming out, basically says Lee is getting in his way to win the NXT title. Then we get Joe Hendry's music hitting, and he hits Wes with a sneak attack from behind, and a brawl between all 3 breaks out. So the Lola Tatum match was fine. A lot of it was a side note to kind of further the Kalani and Wendy stuff. Though I don't have a problem with Jaida or Kendall or Carmen being picked for this gauntlet match. Wes Lee, we got set up to see who's going to be the next number 1 contender. So, with him, Pete, and Joe kind of mixing it up, I think we're set up for a good 3-way match. So what are your thoughts on this part of the show?
Yeah, Lola and Tatum won bad, but yeah, like you said, it's kind of a background to Wendy, obviously continuing to attack Kalani. Yeah, Kendall was kind of surprising out of that group. Carmen, they're trying to elevate, and Jaida obviously has been elevating herself, plus what they've been doing for her as well. And then Wes coming out to explain himself, kind of talking about how, he had to keep Wentz in line all those years. He kind of was the straight one, the one that kind of held the group together, and fixed all the screw ups that especially Zach had to deal with. And obviously he talks about, he didn't really directly talk about him getting fired by WWE, but talks about, kind of implies stuff like that. So, but yeah, obviously sets up a 3-way between the 2 at some point. Obviously probably to be the number 1 contender for the NXT championship. So, definitely an interesting matchup of 3 guys for sure.
All One thing too, this whole Zach Wentz thing, it's quite the redemption story.
Oh, yeah.
Because he it's funny too, is that like, he is with your beloved Gigi in real life. Mm-hmm. And so you kind of see him in her social medias, and you kind of saw a different side of the guy. Because he kind of came off as like this kind of greasy, like, this like mm-hmm. definitely in the smell club, our friend Sean would say. Mm-hmm. And I don't know.
He's probably in the smell club too, if we're being honest.
Well, yeah, that's true too. But probably so is a few other people. But kind of coming back though, and the reception he got, the smile on his face, that he seems to be in a much better place now. Whether what happened was really, because they're you hear different sides of the story, that it was really, hearsay or accusations weren't exactly accurate, whatever. But it was a nice surprise to see him back, because I didn't think that he was going to be one of the guys in the crossover, to be honest, after he had gotten fired by WWE. But it's really been nice to see him, and he's really been killing it. So happy for the guy.
Yeah, and I mean, they've been doing great on Impact as well, so it's not like he doesn't deserve it or anything like that. So yeah, but I think he's kind of redeemed himself throughout this, so I think it's good to see him get the opportunity. I think he got kind of screwed back when all that happened, because I don't know how much of it was true. I mean, obviously he got fired because of the picture that he took forever ago, but again, he was young, and we all do stupid shit when we're teenagers in college and stuff like that. But I guess you just can't let that shit get in social media these days. But the whole domestic abuse and stuff, I don't know how real all that stuff was. I think that was just a jealous ex-wife, ex-girlfriend kind of situation. So, but who knows? Only they know. And it's not for us to judge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, for every Zach Wentz, unfortunately, there's a Velveteen Dream. So
yeah, that's true. You're correct.
Not everybody comes back from what have you, but he generally seems to be a nice guy. So I'm happy for him. And as you know all well, as you probably covered on the cross up, he does win the X Division title.
That's correct.
Which I didn't see the match, but I assume it was probably really good.
Yeah, he won a Ultimate X match, so I mean it was an all out kind of crazy spot fest, but yeah, it was fun for sure.
All right. So we get a backstage segment with Axiom and Nathan Frazier getting on the same page. Then we get Tony D being asked about losing the Heritage Cup. Oba Femi interrupts and says he's ready to battle Otis tonight. Then we go over to Chase U, which was actually set up on Raw also, with Oba Femi kind of. We knew he was going to have like an open challenge, and he was shown in the crowd on Raw and kind of was eyeing Otis, what have you. They had a stare down moment. I can't remember exactly what happened.
Yeah, that happened. That's right.
Yeah. So we get Chase U backstage talking mostly about Ridge rewarding their faith in him by winning the tag team titles. Then we go on to our match with Oba Femi defending the NXT North American Championship against Otis, guy who I love. But unfortunately, Oba hits a powerbomb on Otis, gets pinned to retain. And then we get backstage, we get some Brooks Jensen and Sean Spears interaction, and they cut to Inoki and Blade watching on a monitor saying that Brooks is being manipulated. Then we get another match. We get Izzy Dane versus Brinley Reese, with Izzy getting the win via pinfall. And then we get our main event for the night, which is Axiom and Nathan Frazier defending the NXT Tag Team Championship against Chase U. Fun match, back and forth. Andre Chase usually brings it when he has a big match. And we get Ridge hitting a DDT on Axiom, getting the pin, and Chase U wins the NXT Tag Team Championship. A little bit of a surprise for me. Didn't see that one coming. But I enjoyed the match. Still not high on Ridge Holland at the moment. Oba and Otis, a couple of big men, slapping meat, It was just, it was fun for what it was. And we get a very brief match between Izzy and Brinley. Izzy is a little, further ahead than Brinley in the pecking order, so of course she's going to win that match. And like I said, the main event was a fun tag match with a somewhat surprising result, but we'll see why, that kind of leads to something else. So what are your thoughts on the closing segments on the show?
Yeah, going back to the North American Championship match, it's not bad to bring a guy like Otis back down. He's talented for sure. Probably doesn't get his due on the main roster, even though he is featured a good bit, especially over the last 3 or 4 months with all the Chad Gable stuff. But he's a good guy to plug into a spot like that, to have an open challenge with a dominant champion like that. So obviously super impressive to see Oba dominate and powerhouse around a guy of Otis's size. So and then Izzy and Brinley just kind of to get Izzy over for getting shafted out of the Gauntlet match. And then, another fun NXT Tag Team Championship match. Anytime you can get Axiom and Nathan in there, they usually have a pretty fucking awesome time in there, and an awesome match with pretty much whoever they face. So they got a good match of the Good Brother, so I'll give them that. But yeah, Andre Chase usually brings it in these big matches, and this wasn't any different. But yeah, Ridge is not somebody I'm super high on, but I feel like he's been used pretty well in these last few weeks with Chase U. We'll see where it goes as it continues.
All right. So then we move on to our show from August 20th, where Chase U is in the ring celebrating their tag title win. Axiom and Nathan Frazier come out saying they want their rematch. If they can beat Duke Hudson and Riley Osborne, they'll get a title match at No Mercy, which leads us to said match, with Axiom getting the pinfall on Riley Osborne for the win. Then we find out Carmen Petrovic is out of the Gauntlet match, and Izzy Dame demands a spot to replace her. Aver tells her that she's already given it to someone else, which is Brinley Reese. And then we get our next match, which is Lola Vice versus Wendy Choo. We got, the match starts. We go to a commercial break, and Kalani walks up, and Lola accidentally backfists her when Wendy ducks. Cheap shot with the pillow and gets the pin. Then we get a post-match with Kalani challenging Wendy to a title match at No Mercy, and she demands her belt back, which Wendy had stolen from her. Kalani then grabs the loaded pillow and lays Wendy out with it. So, a good match between, the other half of Chase U and Axiom and Nathan Frazier. I wasn't sure what was going on there. I don't know who would have been number one contenders if it would have been a Chase U versus Chase U situation had Axiom and Nathan Frazier not won the match. Lola, unfortunately, is a casualty in the Kalani-Wendy story going here, but it's good to see Kalani kind of get back at Wendy here after being messed with so much. So what are your thoughts on these couple of opening matches here?
I just want to point out that you said backfisted with a pillow. That's a sentence you said. I mean, you're correct. That is what happened. But you said those words consecutively. I just want to point that out. Not something you would definitely expect to hear on a wrestling podcast for sure. But I just put that up before I gave.
Hey, I look. I don't build them. I just fly them.
Oh,
This is the notes I found online. So there you go.
I got you. But yeah, it would have been interesting that you brought up that point. It would have been interesting to see maybe a Chase U versus Chase U situation, just as kind of a, an exhibition match at the pay-per-view or something like that. So, kind of sad they didn't do that now. But, Axiom and Nathan, like I just said, in the main event of the previous show, they usually bring it pretty well. So this was a really good match considering, this one didn't get as much time as maybe that one did, or the title match did, but it was still a pretty good match. And then poor Lola, feel like she was in the NXT Women's Title match not too long ago, and now she's already playing like second fiddle to another feud. So sad to see her back in that position. But yeah, good to see Kalani get a little revenge here. I was kind of surprised. I kind of figured they would continue to build Wendy Choo pretty strongly into the pay-per-view and maybe have her lose there, but they kind of let Kalani get one over on her here, so I was kind of surprised by that. But it wasn't bad.
Yeah. All right. So then we go on to we had some separate interviews backstage with Pete Dunne and Joe Hendry. Then we move on to our NXT Women's Championship number one contender gauntlet match with featuring Adriana Rizzo, Brinley Reese, Jaida Parker, Kendall Gray, Sol Ruka, and Wren Sinclair. We get Wren and Sol to start out the match. Lots of back and forth, some solid stuff between the two of them. We get Rizzo out third. and she's not in very long. She does hit a couple of spots, but then Sol eliminates her by a pinfall with a 10 powerbomb. Then we get Brindley Reese out fourth. Kendall Gray enters at fifth, and then we get Kendall Gray eliminating Brindley Reese by a pinfall with a Saito suplex. Then we get Jaida Parker entering last, and then she then eliminates Kendall Gray with a gourd buster, followed by a pinfall. The action then picks up with Sol eliminating Wren via pinfall with the Soul Smasher. Then we get the Jaida eliminating Sol via pinfall with the hip attack and becomes the number one contender for the NXT Women's Championship, which makes sense because she's been starting to get built up a little bit here. Then we get a backstage interview with Ethan Page, and then we move on to our next match, which is the Good Brothers, Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows versus Hank and Tank. And Hank and Tank get a big win via pinfall with an assisted power slam on Carl Anderson. So I think the Good Brothers are in like a situation like we said with like Cedric, where they're down there, they're getting TV time, but they're also probably helping out as player coaches. So who are guys that, I don't think we are seeing the best of what these guys have been able to show in their careers. I think I've not seen their Japan stuff, but based on everything I've heard, it was pretty solid. But they're I don't hate on the Good Brothers like a lot of people do. Mm-hmm. I think they, based on, I don't know, kind of maybe their reputation is a little elevated more than it should be based on how they're presented on NXT or on WWE TV. But I think they're solid. I think they're guys that go in there. Maybe they'll win a few matches here. I don't know if they'll win the titles again, but I don't have an issue. I thought the Gauntlet match was fun, and I like Hank and Tank. They're an up and coming team. They got a lot of energy. They're kind of like a new version of Heavy Machinery a little bit. So which I enjoyed that team, of course, because Otis. But what are your thoughts on these matches?
Yeah, I enjoy Hank and Tank pretty good. That they'll elevate at some point in the near future. They've just got a ton of energy, like you said. They've got the crowd behind them. And the Good Brothers, yeah, I mean, they may not be the best in-ring tag team out there, but they're good at their characters. They're good at being kind of shitbags. And I think if they're in there with the right team, that they're not a team that's going to elevate anybody. But if they're in there with a team that can go, they can go with them. If that makes sense. I don't think they're going to elevate a team that's not. If the other team's not good, they're not going to make them better or anything like that.
No.
They can rise to the occasion of a team that may be better than them, if that makes sense. But yeah, the Gauntlet was definitely interesting. Obviously, seeing as many kind of rookie girls in there maybe wasn't the best idea, but I think having Jaida win it and it coming down to her Soul and Jaida was smart, because I thought those were the two people that kind of stood out as possible winners in the first place. I was thinking it would probably be Soul, just so to go with the kind of face heel thing with her and Roxanne, but they kind of start leaning Jaida more face as she kind of gets towards the No Mercy show. But it was definitely interesting to think that they may have gone heel at that point.
Yeah, it's kind of Jada's in like a tweener, actually, more situation here. Mm-hmm. All right, then we got Shawn Spears cutting a promo when Inoki and Blade roll up and give him guff about filling Brooks' head full of lies. Brawl ends up breaking out. They lay out Spears by attacking his shoulder. Then we get the No Quarter Catch crew in the ring. Shelley says they're going to make the Heritage Cup the most prestigious title at NXT. Then Wren makes an open challenge for him to defend against any man at any time. Oba Femi comes out and congratulates Dempsey, but the title he holds is the most prestigious. Then we get the D'Angelo family coming out, and Tony says he's got his eyes on something else, the NXT North American title. The family attacks the No Quarter Catch crew and they brawl. Tony ends up planting Oba with a spine buster. Then we get some backstage stuff with Ashante Adonis. We get Javon Evans and Gallus and Cedric getting involved as well. And then we get our next match, which is Ashante Theodonis versus Dion Lennox. Ashante ends up winning by a pinfall with a super kick. And we get some more backstage interaction between Jakara and Lash and Lexis King. So, Adonis is basically hitting on anything that moves, really,
Yeah.
here. And then also we have our main event, which is Joe Hendry versus Pete Dunne versus Wes Lee for the NXT No Contender match here. We get Ethan Page, your champ, on commentary. We get Page interfering in the match to stop a couple of referee pin counts. Then we get Trick Williams coming in from the crowd to hit Pete Dunne with a running knee. Then we get Joe Hendry falling into the cover on Pete Dunne and wins via pinfall, become No Contender. Then we get post-match Zach Wentz coming out the crowd and attacking Wes Lee. So, some exciting stuff to close the show. We get our new, looks like number 1 contender here for the North American title. We get our number 1 contender. Like, we basically established like who all of our number 1 contenders are going to be leading into to No Mercy in a week and a half or so. So, what are your thoughts on the in-ring stuff with the whole Sean Spears and Nothing Blade? I don't know if you want to comment about that. Yeah. How we are in the Nothing Blade. They're kind of for us. But the whole No Quarter Cash, anytime No Quarter Cash crew and the family interact, it's usually a lot of fun. And Oba Femi kind of gives it another layer to it. But the Ashante match was fine. Dion Lennox is a guy that's just starting to get featured a little bit more with a personality. And then the triple threat was fun, and we got interferences and what have you. Whether the right guy wins to lead into No Mercy in about 10 days or so, give or take from there. So, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'll just go back to the Sean Spears thing first. I mean, I just want something to happen with him and Brooks. Like, I feel like they're playing this game of, I'm with you, but I'm not with you. I just want something to kind of come of that. I want them to either be a team or not be a team or feud. Or
maybe is he legitimately injured? And maybe that's what could be holding
Spears. Yeah, I mean, I think he has the cast or the sling on in a future episode. But yeah, I think he might be. Just be his manager. Like, set them together. Like, they either need to be together or they need to, feud or something. But I just want it to come to some kind of conclusion or some kind of tag team situation. But we'll see, I guess. And then the No Quarter Catch crew comes out. Like you said, when them and the family usually get together, it ends up being pretty entertaining. And you throw Oba Femi in there. I thought it was a pretty hot segment. Tony D stands over Oba at the end with the spine buster. So I thought that was a really hot way to get to that segment. And like you said, I think Lexis obviously flirts with all the girls and stuff like that, and I think Ashante does some of that as well. That becomes kind of his gimmick over the next few weeks. That he comes up, flirts, and then they kind of just disappear because they're like, ugh, let's talk to you. But yeah, the main event was another hot match. Obviously, to get a number 1 contender. I wasn't sure if they were going to do a Wes Lee, Zach Wentz match, so he could have been an option to win. Obviously, I don't think they would go heel with Wes being a new heel and Page being but Hendry wasn't a surprise to win. So, but yeah, good to see Trick come out and kind of get in be a thorn in the side of Pete once again.
All right. So we move on to our go home show for No Mercy on 8/27, and now our little heel trio has a name. Fallon Henley, JC Jane, and Jasmine Nix are now known as Fatal Influence, and they are in our opening match in a tag match. Fallon and JC versus the Metaphor, Chikara and Lash. Match goes over 2 segments, but we get Fatal Influence winning via pinfall with total elimination on Last Legend. We go backstage, and Eddy Thorpe is showing off his DJ set to some of the girls when Ashante rolls up to horn in on it. We get Izzy Dame versus Carmen Petrovic, and Carmen ends up winning by a pinfall with Sunset Flip. And then we go backstage, and we have Miles Bourne and Charlie Dempsey warming up, and Wren Sinclair comes and sticks her nose in it. Tony D is offering a pep talk to the family, but 2 older gentlemen come up to him, and he says he'll deal with whatever it is after the match. And then we get a sit-down interview with Jaida Parker. Roxanne crashes the interview, and Jaida, in the end, ends up slapping Roxanne. She then addresses someone who we can't see and says she'll take care of her, too. Roxanne looks over in shock at whoever it is. So we don't know who that was. We have speculated on it, but So the tag match was fine. Of course, now that they have a name, they're going to go over. Metaphor had their shot, so they kind of go to the back of the line here. More of this Eddie DJ cockamamie, Ashante doing his stuff. Izzy and Carmen, they've been in the ring before together. I think Carmen is just slightly ahead of Izzy at this moment. She wins via a sensor flip, probably just to give it a little steam for her running over to TNA to accept the open challenge coming up. And then, we get some of this more backstage stuff and more build to the Jaida Parker-Roxanne title match. And don't know who it was lurking, but maybe we'll find out. So what are your thoughts on these few segments?
Yeah, the lurker was obviously going to be one of two people, but we'll see which one it ends up being.
Well, I had three, but one was a distant.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I forgot about the third one. Yeah, that's right. It could have been her, too. But yeah, it was going to be one of two or three people for sure. But yeah, it was nice to have that little teaser in there. But the interview sit down was pretty good. Like you said, Jaida slaps the shit out of her, so that was it's always fun to see in those segments. But back to the first match, they give Fatal Influence the win. They give him the name. I don't hate the name. I think it's a solid name for.
Well, anything is better than Pure Fusion Collective.
Yeah, that's true.
Whatever. I don't think Fallon Henley, like the way the pattern is on that coat she wears, I think of Cruella DeVille every time she comes out.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, and also the way she wears it is kind of like the way Demi Moore wears the fur coat in the Charlie's Angels sequel. Gotcha. I don't know if you ever saw that. I don't know if that's in Logan 25 or not.
It is not, but
okay,
I think I know. I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So that just makes me laugh when I see that.
I gotcha. But yeah, obviously they're trying to establish that new group with the new name and all that stuff. Kind of shocking to see Metaphor lose. They just had the title shot with the Women's Tag Team Championships. So, but they're hoping we forget about that, I guess. But yeah, not shocking to see the new group get the win. Eddie moves on to another stupid feud with somebody that we probably don't end up caring about. That's kind of over flirting with girls and being a DJ and all that kind of stuff. So, and in this one, I'm pretty sure they're still fighting backstage at this point, as of last night's episode. So, just ridiculous. Yeah, Carmen gets revenge on Izzy for kind of taking her out of the Gauntlet Eliminator, and like you said, kind of to get some momentum going into that open challenge. And then just more hilarity with the no quarter catch crew. Wren constantly putting her, you're just kind of sticking her nose places where it shouldn't be, and offering up things to people that probably don't deserve it and stuff like that. So those segments are always good.
So then we get a mixed trio match. The D'Angelo family, Adriana Rizzo, Channing Stacks, Lorenzo, and Luca Crucifino versus the No Quarter Catch crew, Charlie Dempsey, Miles Borner, and Wren Sinclair. The D'Angelo family end up winning via pinfall with Shatter Machine on Miles Borner in a fine match. Nothing bad, nothing good. I mean, the girls did their parts. Okay. Mm-hmm. And we get Ethan Page meeting with Ava Ray in her office. He tries to get out of the title match at No Mercy. We get Wes Lee and Zach Wentz having a face-to-face in a ring full of security and referees. It gets pretty emotional, a lot of back and forth. They kind of, hit hard in their words and their garbs and how much they were brothers. And they talk about Zach, kind of touch on Zach getting fired. And they talk about, Zach talks about all the times that Wes quit or walked away, all that he did for him, and all the times he took him, to physical therapy or what have you when he was rehabbing his injuries. But in the end, Lee kind of hits him with a pretty hard line here, where he says he's going to show him why he's the WWE superstar, and Wentz is nothing but a TNA wrestler. And we go backstage, and we get Joe Hendry chatting with Trick Williams. And then we have we'll stop there because there's some more stuff coming along. So the 6-person tag fine match. Ethan still being kind of that chicken shit champion heel, mm-hmm. And then this feud here with Zach and Wes. It's got a lot of emotion and it's off to a great start. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, the 6-man was perfectly fine. I was kind of surprised the No Quarter Catch crew didn't win, considering Tony D wasn't in on the family side of things. But
Yeah.
Either way, I don't think I don't think Charlie took the fall or anything like that. So it's not nothing taken away from him. Miles took the pin. I'm surprised they pulled out the Shatter Machine. I'm learning that was a move way before FTR ever existed. So somebody uses it on Linking Up Luchas that we talk about on the Backbone Wrestling Network. So I'm learning that was a more frequently used move than maybe people may have believe. But yeah, Ethan tries to get out of the match because I think he like attacked a ref or something like that, and he's trying to get suspended or something like that. So, and then the Wes Lee, Zach Wentz segment, they get pretty personal with each other. Kind of, like you said, they call out, Zachary getting fired, and obviously Wes attempting to quit like three or four times over the last few years, and all the injury stuff, and them always being there for each other, whether it was being good friends or something like that, or just kind of supporting something that maybe shouldn't have kept going. But yeah, it did get pretty personal, it got pretty emotional, like you said, and it was a solid segment. I feel like Wes repeated himself a lot though, so I feel like he's still trying to get the heel thing down.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like he said he was like better than him like over and over again. So, but he'll get used to that, being a heel, and kind of learn to change things up. But other than him repeating himself, I thought it was a really good segment. And then Hendry obviously just tells Trick that he'll give him a title shot whenever he does win the championship.
Yeah. Well, he says if I win, and Trick's like, no,
yeah,
win.
If he wins. Yeah.
All right, so we get Kalani out in the ring, gets on the mic, and demanded to see who Wendy Choo had picked out to be her mystery opponent, which was established earlier. And it is another crossover with Rosemary coming over from TNA. Kind of the characters go together between her and Wendy Choo.
Yeah.
But we get Kalani winning via pinfall, excuse me, with the split-legged moonsault. We get post-match Wendy Choo's laughter rings out throughout the NXT arena, and is filled with images of her face. But then Wendy jumps her from behind and chokes her out. We go backstage, and Chase U has Ridge celebrating his gold and says he'll do whatever it takes to keep them. Axiom and Frazier roll up and tell him that they're going to take their titles back. Then we go out to the ring for our next match, which is Brooks Jensen versus Malik Blade. It's basically a glorified squash with Brooks winning via pinfall with a diving elbow drop. We get Javon Evans interviewed backstage, cutting a promo on Joe Coffey. Then we get Hank and Tank and OTM interacting as well backstage to set up a match. Then we move on to a match between Javon Evans and Joe Coffey. Joe Coffey wins via pinfall with all the best of the bells due to interference by Gallus. So, Kalani and Rosemary was fine. I'm not that familiar with Rosemary. I don't know how long she's been around. I think I know I've heard the name for a while, but maybe her look has changed throughout the years.
Yes.
But yeah, I'm vaguely familiar with her. But I thought it was fine for, Kalani get that win moving in, but then Wendy, conventional booking wisdom, Wendy ends up the one standing, is not going to bode well for her at the pay-per-view probably. We get Ridge kind of, a face, but he's maybe, he can't kind of take, the once a bad guy, always a bad guy kind of thing. He's kind of showing a little like, I don't know, he could be heelish, if you will. Brooks continuing to, build some momentum here for what direction they're going in with him. And then just some backstage stuff going on to set up some matches. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, Rosemary's actually been around for probably 7-8 years in TNA, so she was there when Abyss was still with TNA in his like waning days with the company before.
Wasn't she involved with like Chelsea or something like that too at some point? Or
yeah. She's done a lot of stuff for TNA. She was in a group called The Decay. That's what it was like. Her, James Mitchell, Abyss. Okay. A guy named Crazy Steve. They were just kind of like
a version of Sanity or something.
Yeah, and they were just like a little bit more demonic and like it was a little bit more like not religion based, but like, just like with James Mitchell there, he's like the evil, you know what James Mitchell's like.
The sinister minister.
Yeah, he's like the sinister minister, just stuff like that, just being real evil and kind of ghoulish. But I don't know if something was off with both of them that night, or if they just didn't like jihad with each other. But I just felt like something was off in that match, so it seemed kind of clunky for me. It wasn't bad per se, but I think it was definitely probably one of the worser matches for the two for the last little while. But yeah, again, just probably a little bit of a match to kind of push forward the Wendy, Choo and Kalani stuff ahead of the big show. And then Chase U, obviously continue to celebrate their win and their title win and stuff like that. And then Axiom comes to shit on him and say, "Oh, we're getting our belts back" and stuff like that. But Brooks, he's a big bastard to do a big diving elbow like that, because he got some pretty big air, but coming down on poor fragile, skinny, not very well built Malik Blade, I kind of worried for his ribs or his sternum getting caved in by big old Brooks. But yeah, Javon, he cuts a promo on old Joe Coffey before their match. And that match was pretty good. I was kind of surprised that they gave Joe the win, but I think we'll see them face again, and I think Javon gets the win back. So if that was what it boiled down to, I guess I'm okay with it. But yeah, Hang and Tank kind of running into OTM to kind of set up a match between them later on. Not bad.
Yeah. All right. So we get Tony D showing up at his restaurant for Mercy. It turns out that Oba Femi took his room. They talk more to build up their match at No Mercy. Then we get Joe Hendry coming out, starts to play his guitar and singing to mock Ethan Page. Ethan Page comes out to stop it, says he's going to keep Joe out of NXT. Ava then comes out and announces that there will be a special guest referee for the match at No Mercy, Trick Williams. So that concludes our go home show. Any thoughts on just a little bit more that we had left off here? The Tony D and Oba Femi kind of stuff, the whole respect kind of thing that they got going there. That usually is what Tony happens with his matches, and then we get the, not a really surprise announcement that Trick will be the special guest referee because of everything that's been going on with Ethan Page. So any thoughts on those two segments?
Yeah, Oba Femi doing the most offensive thing he could do to Tony D and breaking into the restaurant and into his special room nonetheless. But no, yeah,
taking his table.
Yeah, taking his table too. Yeah, but anything to add a little fire to that feud. I mean, obviously Tony D's been pretty pissed that Oba's kind of cut him off in a couple of interviews lately. But anything to spice a matchup a little bit more is never a bad thing. And then again, kind of a. It was a funny concert. He got and I think even the crowd sings the song the next week too. When Ethan Page comes out, so it was definitely a song that stuck out to the fans for sure. But again, maybe not one of his best concerts, but still pretty funny. And Page gets pretty pissed about it. And then Trick being the special referee gets him on the card. He's one of the top stars, so it's never bad to have him on the card, even if he's just in a role like that or, being a manager for somebody. But getting him involved in the match is never a bad idea. So two pretty good segments to kind of end the show to lead into the big show. All
right. So that moves on to No Mercy from September 1st. We're going to kind of shorten. I was going to read through, but I think in the interest of time, I'll kind of shorten the read-throughs a little bit here. Right now, we don't want to run too long here for all you out there listening, and thank you as always for listening. So we start off with our opening match, not the North American title, which is usually how we start. Yep. Shocking. We get a tag title match here. We get Axiom, Nathan Frazier going for to get their titles back against Chase U, Andre Chase, and Ridge Holland. So fun back and forth. We get some headbutts. We get some. Spanish Chase hits a Spanish fly at one point. We get a Tiger Driver on Axiom, but he kicks out to the floor. We get Ridge blasting both of them over the barricade, but they dive right back at him. We get kicks, cut Andre off. We get a tag to Nathan Frazier, springboard 450 Andre Chase kicks out. Then we get an Enziguri gets a back fist tag to Holland up top. We get a Doomsday device, but no. We get Northern Grip, but Axiom breaks it up. All 4 men are down and out. Challengers running, double teams, golden ratio, not enough. We get a powerbomb, lung blower combination, and Axiom kicks out. Frazier dives on a ridge. Axiom with a small package. Chase kicks out. Swinging neck breaker connects. Spanish Fly Nathan off the top. And Axiom and Nathan Frazier regain the NXT Tag Team Championship with a win via pinfall with the Phoenix Splash from Nathan Frazier on Andre Chase. However, the big story, not even a bigger story, but a big story is Ridge Holland snaps and lays waste to his Chase U teammates, throwing them through the barricade to the steps, drawing Andre Chase up and military pressing him over the ropes to the floor before clearing the announce desk. He shoves Thea Hale aside, who is a ugly crier, by the way. She is just
not a fake crier either.
Yeah. It's very. I don't know if you know what the whole Nancy Kerrigan, but that's how she kind of sounds like when Nancy Kerrigan was yelling why after Tanya Harding took her knee out. But he puts Andre on the table and then he hits a capture DDT into the announce table. Ridge looks at how violent his hands are while Thea sobs. Andre is stretchered out. So I really enjoyed this match. Maybe not the best tag title match, but definitely a very solid one. Mm-hmm. And, it was funny, too, is that kind of been waiting for Axiom and Nathan Frazier to kind of split up, but that doesn't happen at all. Yeah. And we do get Ridge, though. I guess, what was it? Like, Tiger never changes his stripes, right? Is that what the phrase is?
Yeah, and that's like that.
That's what happens. And I know leopard never changes his spots. I don't know. It's something with a large cat.
It's something with a cat, yeah.
Yeah, something with a large cat that is almost as big as George. But no, this is like I said, it's a solid match. I like Frazier and Axiom as a tag team champions. The whole Chase U thing. I don't know. Maybe this is a way for them to kind of end Chase U. I don't know. If you have Ridge kind of dismantle them. I do want to see Duke kind of get away from them because, his earlier gimmick, the poker player, was what it was. But I want to see him away from Chase U to see how he does now without being part of the team because he's a big guy, makes a great hot tag, solid in the ring. I want to see how he goes. I also want to see a little Riley Osborne, break out a little bit. So we'll see what happens here. But what are your thoughts on the match and the aftermath?
Yeah, no, another really entertaining NXT tag team title match. I kind of felt like, whoever lost this match was probably not going to be together much longer. I didn't know if it was going to be immediate, kind of like it was. But yeah, not surprising that whoever lost was going to break up. But yeah, Ridge really snaps afterwards and pretty much destroys all of his Chase U comrades, and especially poor old Andre Chase. That capture DDT is a really sick move. So it is very good looking to kind of take out somebody. So, but yeah, we'll see if Ridge gets any more love from us going forward. But yeah, Chase U seems to be somewhat dissolving. We'll see. We'll see if, that they bring it back when Mr. Chase recovers from this, because I still don't think he's come back as of last night either. Yeah. So we'll see if they kind of come back together whenever that happens, or if they kind of go their separate ways, because they seem to kind of build themselves up, and then somebody kind of tears them down, builds them back up, and tears them down. So, but yeah, we'll see how long Axiom and Nathan hold it this time. Because they're a team that, I think they could be doing bigger things by them on their own. So we'll see where they kind of go this time. All
right. Oh yeah, and because Chase U's been around for a long time now, right?
Ever since they switched to 2.0, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe it's
time. Mr. Chase has. I don't know that Chase. I don't know that there were members necessarily at first. I think it was just him. But
yeah, or members with names. It was more just all people with Chase U shirts.
Yeah.
All right, our next match is Wes Lee versus Zach Wentz, and we start off with them drawing, but we get Wentz tucking a right hand, eating a back elbow. handsprings and springboards and a stalemate. We get a drop down and a crotch chop, rolling couple kick, heel trips. Zach fakes one out. Lee then catches a kick, stomp, comes up empty, ducking and dodging as the stalemate again. Punch to the midsection, big slap from Wes, drop down, leapfrog. Wentz kicks his leg out from under his leg. Up and over, front kick, springboard tornillo to the floor, more ducking and dodging, and Lee trips him up on the apron and pulls his shoulder into the post. Zach then falls to the floor, chest kicks. He blocks one and hauls off on Wes with chops. Lee back suplexes him into the apron. Back inside with him, cover for two. Smashing Wentz's face into the turnbuckles, off the ropes, drop kick to the shoulders. Wrist clutch stomps, top wrist lock applied. Wentz tries for a comeback with right hands. A handspring knee, and he's got some separation. We got a German suplex, rolling hot, rising knee in the corner, roll through, penalty kick connects. A second penalty kick off the apron, springboard cannonball, back inside, trading shots, half Nelson blocked, O'Connor roll for two. Off the ropes, knees right into a Boston Crab. We get a break free, up kicks, back body drop, sends Zach to the apron. He lands a kick, heads up top. Lee cuts him off for the enziguri. Near fall sets up a cardiac kick, but Wes kicks out. Zach kicks out. Lee with her right hand. Zach ducks a kick, sidesteps a boot, and hits an Essex Destroyer. Wes to the floor, cuts Wentz off with a knee lift and throws him into the steel steps. Zach then sidesteps, and Lee puts his knee hard into the steel. We get a punch and a super kick, and Wentz takes a tumble into the wreckage of the announce desk. Wes, which he just basically fell into, and it just collapsed. I kind of laughed at that spot. And then we get Wes climbing up top, David seating senton to the floor. Wentz gets back in the ring. Wes gets a chair to finish him, but Trey Miguel is here and takes a chair away from him. We get a flip pile driver from Zach Wentz, fired up, back inside, springboard, UFO, and it's over. Zach Wentz wins via pinfall with the UFO, which I was a little surprised. Usually the guy that turns heel usually gets the victory, but like I said, Zach Wentz, big weekend for him, wins the X Division Championship, and then beats Wes Lee. So what are your thoughts on this match? Because I think, in my opinion, match of the night.
Yeah, definitely match of the night. Two guys with, obviously they're really friends in real life, despite the fact that they're bitter enemies here. So they have a ton of chemistry with each other, have worked, endless tag matches, endless matches throughout their careers with each other. So it wasn't a surprise that they were going to have a good match with each other. I think once he won the X Division title, you kind of had to have Zach win, because if your new champion, as TNA, you can't really have your guy that just won the title lose on the show that he's participating on this weekend. I mean, WWE is the bigger company, so they could probably make that call if they really needed to. But I don't think Wes loses anything in losing this match, and I obviously think we'll get to it eventually, but I think they set up a match between. Well, I don't know if we'll talk about that tonight, but they do set up a match between them later on that I think probably Wes will get the win back at. So, yeah, as long as Wes gets a win at some point, I think it'll be all right. But yeah, really, really good match. Probably match of the night as we'll go through the rest of the card.
All right. Our next match is Kalani Jordan defending her NXT Women's North American Championship against Wendy Choo. So we get some mat grappling in the feeling out stage. Then Choo stomps her hand, tests the strength, covers, wrenching Jordan's arms, moving up top. Tree of Woe angle out of the apron. Wendy blasts her with a hesitation drop kick. Back inside, super kick in the corner, cover for two. Pressing the attack now. Kalani's on the comeback. Handspring caught into a German suplex. Cho turns to attack further, but Jordan gets a boot up and follows it with a handspring elbow and kips up. Heel kick sets up an implant DDT. Then we get Wendy sits up with a vicious. Then we get Jordan off the ropes with a crossbody. But again, Choo pops back up. Wrist clutch stomps from the champion. Frog splash. Then we get mounted punches in the corner. Wendy counters with a powerbomb. Full Nelson slam. Only two. Kalani then struggles to the apron. Jawbreaker over the ropes. Back inside. Cobra clutch applied. Champion fading. Falling back. But she passes the referee's arm drop test. Ramming Wendy into the turnbuckles, breaking free, stomping her down, reverses STO, connects, Jordan off the top with a 450 splash, no cover, back up top, then Kalani Jordan hits the split-legged moonsault, gets the pin, and retained her NXT North American Championship. We get post-match, Tam Paxley appears and chokes Wendy Choo out with a Dragon Sleeper before leaving her doll in her likeness on her unconscious body. So this was a fine match, nothing to write home. Wasn't bad. I do kind of like Wendy's character, where it kind of, it mixes up her last two characters. I've always thought she was good in the ring. It's just, the gimmick is usually where she stumbles, and Kalani, still learning, still getting better, but has been a good North American champion here. And I thought it was a fun match. The post match, we'll see where that leads with Tatum and Wendy, what have you, because they've been kind of intertwined a little bit. Are they friends? Are they not friends? What's happening there? So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, not a bad match. Obviously, was going to be a calm down match after that last one, with it being as much of a banger as it was. But yeah, they pulled out some good stuff. Wendy, I think she's definitely done good with this character, more demented version of her previous character. Like you said, kind of a mashup of the evil Japanese demon person that she was before, mixed with the sleepy princess that she was before that. But yeah, Kalani's still learning. Kalani's still building as champion, so she's only going to get better as we go. But yeah, this was a solid defense for her. And yeah, we'll see what Tatum and Wendy do going forward.
All right, so we have Rich Holland interviewed backstage, but he refuses to explain his actions from earlier in the night. And then we go on to our next match, which is Oba Femi defending his North American Championship against Tony D'Angelo. So we get collar and elbow, stalemate. We get back to a lockup. Femi gets a side headlock, wrenches it in, shot off, shoulder block. He pie faces the Don. Tony D then double legs him into a mounted of punches, follows it with a cactus clothesline. Oba bounces his head off the apron, back inside, headlock, shot off. Flying forearm and a German suplex. Tony's rolling. Clothesline sends the champion to the floor, and challenger holds back this time. Femi then returns to the ring. Waistlock, leg trip to get out of it. The Don kicks him away. Oba stampedes him into the corner. Float over slam. Waistlock. Femi then breaks his grip and hammers him with a back elbow. Off the ropes. Tony D dead weights to block a rock bottom. Oba then puts boots to him. Straight suplex, cover for two. Northern Light suplex from Tony, charging in. Femi catches him and walks him across the ring to set up a suplex of his own. Off the ropes, Northern Lariat, scoop and a slam. Tony with lariats, belly-to-belly suplex, Christian suplex, electric chair in the corner, electric chair drop. Oba then to the floor and getting into it with the rest of the D'Angelo family. The Don takes him back in, off the ropes with a spear. Doesn't get the pin, power bomb. Tony floats over, clotheslines take them both out. Femi with a lariat to stagger him. Back inside, pop-up, powerbomb connects, but Tony D kicks out. Float over, spinebuster connects, but Tony is slow to capitalize. Oba back on his feet, powerbomb after powerbomb. I think he hit 4 or 5, actually. And Oba Femi wins via pinfall with several powerbombs, retaining the NXT North American Championship. I enjoyed this match. I thought it was a hard-hitting. Tony D's becoming one of my favorite guys in NXT. He's one. I'm weird. It's weird though, because as much as Tony and the D'Angelo, I don't know about the rest of the D'Angelo family, but Tony definitely is probably ready for prime time. But I don't want to see him go. I'm enjoying what they're doing, and they seem to elevate everything they're in. And again, he gave Oba Femi a good match. I thought maybe he had a chance going in. I'm not sure who will be the one to take the title off Oba Femi, but I thought it was a solid match. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, at this rate, I feel like Oba's just gonna he's just gonna challenge whoever the next face is that wins the NXT title, and then he'll just kind of either merge them or he'll take one and get rid of the other, and something like that. Because it just doesn't seem like I just don't know who that guy is going to be, because it just doesn't seem like anybody other than maybe a Tony D is on that level to kind of take it from him. I mean, they can do some building of guys
unless they sign somebody, kind of out of nowhere, and then they come in and take it off them.
Yeah, I mean, that could always be a possibility as well. But yeah, he just seems like such a dominant champion, and you thought maybe Wes could win it like that last time that he did it, and you could have seen maybe Tony D doing it here. But I definitely see the Oba Femi going for the NXT championship in the next year or so. So if not even the next 6 months or so. Because he's just a force. He's been super awesome so far. I don't think he's had a disappointing performance yet. But yeah, like you said, Tony D elevates pretty much everything he's been in, especially lately. But yeah, him and I feel like him and Stacks probably deserve to be main roster. But I don't know about Luca or Rizzo. Definitely not. Luca, I think, could probably just be the character that he is and kind of fit in, but he probably still needs some seasoning as well.
Rizzo could be. I think she's a little bit further along than Maxine Dupree, but we could be in that situation. Who Maxine Dupree, is really improving. I gotta tell you. Yeah. But Rizzo is still fairly green. She's not ready for the main roster, and if she were to come up, they'd have to really protect her. Like,
yeah,
really,
and they could
not
play,
let her get in the ring.
And they could play a situation where, like, the family's represented in multiple brands, like Luke and Rizzo kind of hold it down, and they could add members to their like NXT version, and then Stacks and Tony could hold it down on the main roster. So they could kind of have the family on both situations, but also be split at the same time. So they could do something like that. That could be interesting.
Yeah. Good point. All right. So we got Trick
I
Williams
make one every once in a while.
Yeah. Then we get Trick Williams telling All Ego Ethan Page that he's going to call it down the middle. Page is going to abide by his rules, but Ethan tells him to cut the crap. He knows he's going to do everything in his power to make sure Joe Hendry wins with the title. Please would tell. Trick says it's not about any of that. It's about him abiding by the rules. Then we get the Rascals interview backstage. Zach Wentz says he won a match but lost a brother, and he needs to look forward and be grateful for Trey Miguel, the brother he does have. Miguel says they're going to keep moving, and they've got their eyes on Axiom, Nathan Frazier, and the tag titles. Then we get Jaida Parker cutting a promo on how she's going to win the title tonight on her way into the arena with the one of the new camera angles they've been using a lot with people, especially with Jey Uso, where they kind of follow the person and they talk and they bring them out to the arena, which I kind of dig.
I love it, yeah.
Yeah. All right, so our next match is for the NXT Women's Championship. Jaida Parker challenging Roxanne Perez. So we get a standing switch, hammerlock. Parker shoves the champion off. Waistlock, float over, cover for one. Reverse chinlock applied. Perez rolls into a hammerlock, headlock takeover on her own. We get a big slap. Jaida is incensed. Arm ringers whip across. Roxanne ducks a lariat crossbody caught, and Parker sets her in turnbuckles and chops her tummy. And we get champion bails to the floor. I know I said tummy. I'm sorry. I really got to go through these write-ups before. I'm saying things you never think you'd say on a wrestling pod. So the champion bails to the floor, back inside, shoulder block from Jaida, butterfly suplex, sent to the floor. Then we get Roxanne dives and gets caught. Parker then marches her up the stairs in a fireman's carry. Perez slips out and trips her into the steps, dropping Jaida into the steel, breaking the count, stomping her into the steel. When we get back inside, more stomps to the ribs, armbar with pressure on the ribs, training right hands. Parker then boots up in the corner, Roxanne with a shote. Then now Jaida is laying across the second, and Perez hits a slingshot, see a senton, and mocks her challenger strut, joining at her penalty kick blocked. Roxanne begs off, but Jaida hoists her up for a Liger bomb. We get a whip across, Perez with a boot off the ropes. Parker catches her with a spinning spine buster. Then we get Roxanne float over a suplex, goes up top, diving crossbody caught. Jaida stampedes her into the corner and sets her across the second rope. Clubbing blows up top, then see it senton off the top, but Roxanne kicks out. Then we get a suplex fails because Jaida's ribs. Second try lands off the ropes. Hip attack caught into a schoolboy for two. Perez has her in the arm trap crossface. Rings the center now, wrenching back, but Parker posts up and gets to her feet. Fallaway slam connects. Vader bomb, but nobody's home. Roxanne thinking La Casita, but only two. Rolling soul butt, pop rocks blocked. Parker with a hip attack. Perez falls to the floor, out, and then Roxanne shoves her through the timekeeper's barricade. Pop rocks on the floor. Referee counting. Both women beat the count, and we get a pop rocks inside. And Roxanne Perez wins via pinfall with the Pop Rocks, retaining the NXT Women's Championship. Then we get her celebrating. The lights come out, and what happens? Julia makes her entrance and obviously positions herself as Roxanne's next challenger. So I enjoyed this match. Like I said, Jaida Parker, really stepped up her game for this. I didn't think she really, though, had a chance going in. I think we knew it was a matter of time before Julia or one of the others that we had thought about, I guess, might show up post-match. So the other guesses for me, and we could talk about her later to close the show. But Stephanie Becker was one. Also, maybe returning Cora Jade. So what are your thoughts on the match and Julia finally making her, she was shown in the crowd once already, but her kind of like official debut.
Yeah. I wasn't sure if she was still hurt or not. I feel like she was hurt at one point, so I wasn't sure if she was still recovering from that. So Stephanie was definitely in my mind, but I figured it would be Julia. But yeah, Jaida really stepped up in this one. I think this match was, I think Wes and Zach was probably the match of the night, but this was definitely a close second for me. I think Jaida really stepped up character-wise in the build, and then in this match for sure. Roxanne's always great, but this was a real wild card to whether Jaida could kind of step up and deliver in this situation. I think she did, so she's probably somebody that they're going to give, or strap the rocket ship to over the next year or so. And she'll be in the both title pictures, I'm sure, and maybe even will hold one of the two championships before too long. So. Definitely a very interesting and awesome performance for her coming out of this. So, but yeah, Julia, obviously, whoever it was. I mean, obviously it ends up being Julia, but whoever it was going to be Roxanne's next challenger, and probably is going to be the person that ends up probably taking it from her. So, but We'll see.
All right, so we get backstage, and Ava Ray is interviewed, but doesn't have an update on Andre Chase for us as of yet. She announces a three-way tag title No. 1 contenders match to set up a defense for the first CW show, as well as noting that the NXT champion will be defending his title on the first CW show as well. Then we get All Ego cutting a promo in Gorilla about how he's going to retain the title. And that moves us on to our main event for the night, which is All Ego Ethan Page defending against Joe Hendry for the NXT championship, with Trick Williams as your special guest referee for this one. Shades of... Shawn, Brett, Undertaker here from SummerSlam back in the day, which I was actually at. Page, to start the match, Page backing Hendry into a corner, grinding his forearm into his face. Williams then orders him to back off. Ethan gives him some guff for it. Collar and elbow. This time, Joe gets him in the corner and grinds his forearm into his face, and Trick pulls him away. Hendry with a fireman's carry takeover into a wrist lock. All Ego reverses it, works his own wrist lock, back to the lockup. Ethan with his side headlock, shot off face-to-face and jawing off the ropes, shoulder block. Hendry doesn't budge. Front kick, pie face off the ropes. Joe behind him, shoulder block, takes Page off his feet. Suplex lift, then delayed vertical, marching All Ego around the ring before completing a neck breaker, cover for two. Arm drag, cover for two. Page reverses, grounded punches, drawing up Joe, smashing him into the turnbuckles and punching away. Posing in the turnbuckles, shoulder block, back elbow, sends Hendry spinning out. Guillotine choke, Joe to his feet, counters with a suplex. Fired up, fireman's carry. Ethan floats out, roundhouse kick, posting. Hendry, straight suplex, cover for two. Up to the turnbuckle, Page with avalanche power slam. Doesn't get the 3 count. Back up top, Joe cuts him off with an uppercut. Avalanche fall slam, and All Ego rolls to the floor. Joe Hendry's fired up. Trust falls suicide dive, but Ethan throws him into the steel steps. Ego's edge into the apron. Joe barely beats the count. Headlock punches from the champion. Hendry slips out of Ego's edge. Gets All Ego up for his own. Razor's edge for two. Trading right hands. Big ladder from Joe. Fallaway slam. Kip up, and he's rolling. Standing ovation. All Ego's foot is under the ropes. Trick patiently explains to Hendry that he had to make the call. Page shoves Joe into Trick. Standing ovation of his own. Referee Daryl Sharma slides in, but he doesn't get the pin. Page grabs the belt. Goes back in. Schoolboy for two. DDT on the belt. Trick slides in to stop Sharma's count because of the belt. Williams ducks, and All Ego decks Daryl. Trick is distracted, doesn't see a low blow up in the crucifix, and All Ego Ethan Page wins via pinfall with the Ego's edge, retaining the NXT Championship. Post-match, Ethan insists that Trick raises his hand, and he does so reluctantly. And Pete Dunne then attacks Trick on the floor, lays him out with a bitter end to close the show. So I thought this was a solid match. I don't think Joe Hendry's used to wrestling in front of that many people. Ethan Page has, really been playing that swarmy heel, trying to get out of any defense. But I thought Joe put on a solid match. Ethan Page, is good in the ring. He's working on that character still, and like the dynamic with Trick here. Like I said, it was shades of SummerSlam. What was that? 97.
97.
Yeah. See, I got one right. of because you could definitely see Trick like in his face, like kind of similar to how what was it? Shawn had to count Brett the Undertaker shoulders down as Brett pinned him. He was like so reluctant to like make the pin, but he had to do his job. And then the Pete attacking Trick kind of, I don't know, it didn't go off like maybe they had hoped it would to close the show, but furthering that feud a little more, which is getting up there in one of the maybe top 10 feuds, that maybe cracking the top 10 feuds of the year, because this has been a pretty they've been going at it pretty good, so kind of enjoying the feud, but this didn't land, I think, like they'd hoped, but solid close to the show.
It definitely seemed tacked on for sure. I don't think it was super necessary, but
yeah.
I'm not pissed about it or anything. I just don't think it really added much to the overall product of it all or anything like that. The match was fine. Not the most exciting. I just don't think these guys are two guys that probably really can elevate each other. I think they're both good wrestlers. I think they need somebody in there that I don't really know. Maybe is a little more athletic than the other. They need to be kind of the base of it all, but the other person around them kind of needs to do some exciting stuff, and I don't think that really was what was going on here. So it was a solid main event, but maybe not up to your standard NXT main event. Obviously Heatwave, they had the great 4-way. And Trick and Ethan had a pretty good match before that, so just didn't live up to the last few NXT title matches, so it ended up just kind of being a little bit disappointing, but maybe in a different scenario they would have put together a little bit better match, and the distraction of having the referee be another superstar is always going to take away from it a little bit, but not a terrible match, but not maybe one of the better NXT World Title matches.
All right. So we're going to move on to the final show that we're going to chat about on this episode. It is from last week, as of this recording, September 3rd. We get our No Mercy recap to start the show. Then Trick Williams comes out, gets on the mic to call out Pete Dunne. Ethan Page comes out, runs down Trick. Pete Dunne then attacks Trick, and a brawl between the two happens. We get Fatal Influence confronting Jaida Parker backstage, and they talk trash to her. Then we move on to a three-way tag match, Gallus, which is Mark Coffey and Wolfgang versus Hank and Tank versus the Rascals, Trey Miguel and Zachary Wentz for the NXT Championship #1 contender. So we get it's a really fun match, different styles kind of blending in here. We get Joe Coffey running in, but Javon Evans neutralizes them. The Good Brothers then come and take out Hank and Tank. And the Rascals win via pinfall with the Senton Atomic from Zachary Wentz and Hank Walker. Post-match, we get backstage, we get Axiom and Frazier interviewed, and the Rascals rode up and trade "we're going to win" type comments. So, a fun match to start off. I don't know what happens between, the 3rd and the 10th, because there's going to be a change in the match, actually. That's going to happen on that episode. I don't know if you know what the deal is there, but now is kind of continuing on the fallout from No Mercy with the NXT title scene. We get this fun 3-way match, and we get Fatal Influence kind of continuing their mean girl shtick, this time with Jaida Parker as their target. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, Trick and Pete starting the night out hot, brawling for the first time. We'll see them brawl obviously more times than that, but Fatal Influence making their presence known, obviously gonna mess with the girl that just got the title shot, hopefully trying to elevate themselves off of her having that big spot. And then the Rascals win a pretty entertaining 3-way tag team match to get the #1 contendership. I'm just guessing some kind of booking scenario just didn't work out, and they thought they could be there, but maybe they ended up being busy that night or something like that. Or
okay,
I guess we'll see. Maybe I don't know. I'm not acting like I know what happened, but I'm gonna guess it's something like they just thought they would be available, but maybe they didn't end up making it, or somebody had a commitment that they just wasn't foreseen in the beginning. So. But who knows?
All right. So then like you said, they continue to fight, the two of them, because Trick is interviewed backstage and Pete Dunne busts in and they brawl again. Move on to our next match, which is Lexis King versus Oro Mensah, with Lexis King winning via pinfall with a folding press with his feet on the ropes. Then we got the D'Angelo family chatting backstage, and Oba Femi rolls up and talks trash. They tell him Tony's not done with him yet. Then Oba insults Rizzo, kind of similar, something along the lines like, in my culture, women are kind of a misogynistic insult here. Tony then arrives to stand up for his family and tells Stacks to handle it tonight. Then we get backstage. Gallus is pissed off, and Joe Coffey pledges to end Javon Evans before he has his first legal pint. The No Quarter Catch crew walk over. Mark Coffey says they're coming for the Heritage Cup, and Wren almost accepts the challenge. Then we move on to our next match, which is Rosemary versus Tatum Paxley. Wendy Choo accompanies Rosemary to the ring. Tatum ends up winning the match via pinfall. Post-match, Wendy attacks Tatum. Wendy and Rosemary, attack Tatum. But Lyra Valkyria surprisingly makes a return to NXT and makes the save. So a lot of stuff happening here. We get the King Mensa match was fine, whatever. Continuing on the D'Angelo family and Oba Femi stuff here, with Oba kind of really being a dick, really, if we're gonna say it in that to Rizzo, and then Gallus continuing on with Javon Evans, but they're now kind of sticking their nose, it seems, in the Heritage Cup situation. And then, a fine match between Rosemary and Tatum, which is ultimately to set up, Lyra coming back and reuniting with Tatum. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, Lexis went from fighting over music to fighting over daddies. So I think they insulted each other's fathers on a previous episode.
Yeah,
so, but that's at least a little bit more entertaining than maybe the music feud. So at least it has an emotional part to it. So I can get with that one a little bit more than the previous one, obviously. Yeah, Oba being a real misogynistic dick. In that segment, Tony standing up for his Italian values of standing up for the women and making sure that they feel respected and stuff like that. So solid little segment between those guys. And then I like the Coffey saying he was going to end Javon before he had his first legal pint. I thought that was a really good line. But yeah, obviously the No Quarter Catch crew kind of stick their nose in somewhere where they probably shouldn't. And Mark Coffey says they're coming for the cup when they get done with old Javon. And then Rosemary and Tatum again. I don't know if Rosemary's just hurt or something, but she just hadn't been really stepping up in these situations. So it's probably good that they are going to kind of seeming to build towards a tag match going forward. So, but yeah, Lyra showing up. I'm pretty sure her and Tatum were like rivals last time they were on the same show. So I don't know why Lyra feels the need to step up for her, but they were friends in the past and
kind of frenemies, I guess.
Yeah. And Tatum had idolized her at one point. So we'll see how that tag match goes. Hopefully Rosemary shakes out whatever she's been struggling with lately, and we can have a solid tag match between the four of them.
All right. So then we get Pete Dunne interviewed backstage. Then Jordan Grace cuts a promo on Instagram, says she's going to defend the TNA Knockouts title in an open challenge next week on NXT. And we get another Pete Dunne Trick Williams match. They start brawling before the bell rings. They literally beat the crap out of each other. And Trick ends up hitting a side rushing leg sweep on the announce table. And the match ends in a double count out draw. But then post-match, they keep brawling. We get Rich Holland cutting a promo, saying he's going to destroy Chase U step by step. And we go backstage and we see Sean Spears thanking Brooks Jensen for saving him from a no-fan blade. I don't know if anybody ever had to be saved from them before, but okay. And then Deion Lennox steps out of the background and tells Brooks that Spears is gaslighting him, but Brooks has no idea what the hell that means. Javon Evans, our next match, Javon Evans versus Joe Coffey. Cedric Alexander comes to ringside to take Gallus out. Javon ends up winning via pinfall with a double jump tornillo. Guy makes me nervous, I tell you. And then we go backstage. Tatum and Lyra chat, and they end up hugging it out. So, it's the thing is that maybe it's just because I'm getting older. There are some moves I watch and I'm just like, why are we doing this? like what are they called, the tope suicida, where they dive through the middle ropes and they push the guy. Like I'm like I don't like the move because I don't think it looks all that effective. But how many people are like almost like knocking themselves out on the barricade or the announce table. I mean, you saw what happened to Kairi Sane, a week and a half ago on Raw, where she got that nice little cut to her face, right above her eye. So it's kind of a, I don't know. It just, to me, I think this kid's got a long career ahead of him. I don't want to see him doing anything unnecessary to make a highlight reel, basically. But, I think the kid is solid. He has a bright future. Pete and Trick, I almost called them Prick. I don't know why.
That could be their tag team name.
Yeah, their tag team name, the prickly ones or something. I don't know. But they, they continue on this feud. I mean, it's something to keep Trick busy with, I guess. And Pete, not really being an NXT guy, can kind of take the loss in the end on this feud. Excited to see, the Jordan Grace is going to do a TNA Knockouts Open Challenge. Those can, be exciting. We get more on the, the Ridge Holland, Chase U thing, the Spears and Brooks thing. So what are your thoughts here on this part of the show?
Yeah, awesome to see Jordan possibly coming back in and having another open challenge. That's always a good thing to continue that crossover. Pete and Trick obviously didn't get going too much before they kind of end the match in a double count out. So we'll obviously seemingly get another match between those two. Ridge kind of laying out why he did what he did, says he's going to destroy, Chase U person by person, little by little, as he goes. So that gives him kind of a goal going forward. Sean saying Brooks saved him from an Ophian blade. I don't think anybody, like you said, has ever been saved from an Ophian blade. And then, Dion playing the shit stir as per usual, even though Spears is kind of standing in the background when they have that conversation. So, again, I kind of wish they would just do something with Spears and Jensen, whether, if Sean's hurt, just make him his manager and have him fully become his, minion or whatever. But then, Javon wins. Javon does one of those spots every week where he goes for a tope suicida over by the announce table. And I feel like he always crashes into the side of it, and it's man, your fucking ribs or your back or something like that.
I always feel like he nearly, very nearly, hits his head on the thing. I'm just
he does one of those seemingly every week. I feel where he overshoots the tope suicida. So he definitely needs to probably chill out a little bit with stuff like that, but. His body's young, so as long as he can get away with not getting fucking hurt, then more power to him, I guess.
All right. And we got our next match, which is Channing Stacks Lorenzo versus Oba Femi. Channing, Stacks tries his best, but of course he gets his head handed to him by the dominant Oba Femi. We get some backstage interactions with Brindley Reese, Eddy Thorpe, and Ashante Adonis. We get Javon Evans pitching Wren Sinclair and giving him an NXT Heritage Cup match, and she makes it for the following week. He runs off to tell Ava. Charlie Dempsey shows up and is not happy about this result. Then we get Jaida Parker versus Jasmine Nix. We get Jaida winning via pinfall with the hip attack. Post-match, Fatal Influence attacks Jaida and beats her down. And we get Fatal Influence telling Kalani that her days of backstage, they go back to the locker room after the match. Kalani's back there with a bunch of the girls. And Fatal Influence tells her that her days of champion are over. Then we get Roxanne coming to the ring once again, like we talked about, says nobody can take the title from her. And surprisingly, Chelsea Green comes out and asks if she was expecting someone else. And she's here to interrupt, and nobody's going to tell her that she's not number one contender. But then the lights go down, and Julia arrives. Julia ends up laying out Chelsea, picks up a microphone, and challenges Roxanne for the CW debut episode. And that closes the show. So they are really, really building up these first few episodes, because the first one's in Chicago and Punk's going to be on, and then the following one's in St. Louis with Randy Orton showing up. There's going to be a lot. The women's tag team champions are going to be on the show. on the first one. Yeah, it's gonna be almost like a mini PLA. It seems like, because they want to come out of the gate strong, I guess, on network television. But yeah, it's solid. This was a solid show to keep the storylines going. So, what are your thoughts on the closing segments?
Yeah, and you kind of feel like you may see a couple title changes, see a couple of, maybe final stories for some people before they go to the main roster or something like that. So, but yeah, the closing segment was good. Good swerve with Chelsea. Chelsea's somebody that I feel like the NXT crowd is somewhat behind, or likes to boo a lot at least. And I like that they did the lights go down and then Chelsea comes out and then obviously they do it again and it's Julia that time. But yeah, Julia versus Roxanne will probably be, that Trick and Ethan will probably be the main event. But you could probably start with one of those matches and have a hot opener and then a hot finish as well. So we'll see kind of as we get closer to that what it is. But just to go back to Stax and Oba Femi, Stax put in a pretty good performance, but obviously Oba was going to win in dominant fashion like he always does. We get the Ashante creeping on the women again, so that's fun stuff for sure. Totally kidding, of course. And then Javon somehow snakes a Heritage Cup match out of it all. And gets a shot at Charlie next week, and Charlie's pissed about it. I'm glad to see Jaida didn't lose to Jasmine. Obviously you want to get Fatal Influence over, but Jaida is the more over person at the time, and she deserves that win. But she does take the attack afterwards, obviously. And then, obviously we'll see which one of Fatal Influence goes after Kalani, but they tell her days are numbered, so we'll see if it's JC or Fallon, but that either one of those would be an interesting matchup for Kalani, I think.
All right. So yeah, a good solid couple of months here in the NXT brand. Before we close the show, the podcast, when do you think we see Stephanie Vaquer?
Depending on the result of the Roxanne Julia match, maybe if Julia wins, that's like who Julia will face next. So, maybe they'll do a return match with Roxanne, but maybe the first CW show or maybe the second, just to give that second one a little bit of flavor. Yeah. But somewhere soon, I have to feel like, if she's been with the company for 2 or 3 months now, she was on that house show I feel it's like forever ago, but it was probably only like weeks ago. Life just seems like to go by that fast nowadays. But I would have to think on one of those first network shows or maybe the next PLE.
Okay. What about the other girl, the Australian girl, Delta, I think her name is? Have you heard anything in your...
I haven't heard a lot about her, so they might push that one out for a while. We'll see. I think Vaquer and even Cora, I think, show up maybe before the year's over, just because.
Yeah, I think Cora is getting very close to returning. So.
And I kind of hope she comes back as a face. I like her as a heel too, but I kind of hope she comes back as a face when she comes back, because.
Yeah.
I think she deserves that run.
And I don't think we have a timetable yet for Gigi. Gigi's, actually had to say something on social media because people were saying, like, where's Gigi? What's she doing? What's going on? And they were speculating. And she's like, just because I don't post what's going on doesn't mean I'm not here working hard, rehabbing my knee and what have you. So we don't really know a timetable on her. Who knows about Nikita Lyons? She's.
I think they just have her for like Instagram thirst trap reasons now.
Yeah,
I don't know if she's ever going to wrestle again. So she's just there to get the horny teenagers looking at their Instagram pages and stuff.
That's true. Yeah, so lots of stuff going on. And we'll come back and we'll recap, because we're gonna, obviously next time we record will be after the show moves to the CW, as well as I believe they have another PLE coming up soon, right?
I don't know when the next one's scheduled for, but yeah, they'll probably have one before we record next.
So probably looking at late October, early November for our next episode. So
yeah.
All right, so Logan, what's been going on with you though besides this? Because you got a myriad of podcasts. You are like the James Brown of our group here. You know, the hardest working man in podcasting. So what do you got recently? You want to direct people to that you want to call out?
Oh my God! I never thought I'd be compared to James Brown, WCW legend James Brown, of course.
Oh my God! A lot of firsts happening on this episode, Logan.
But yeah, I mean, we've got the Backbone Wrestling Network. Talked about that last time, I believe we were on. So I think we were just pretty much launching that last time. So we've been doing that for 3 or 4 months at this point. I think we started in May, so we're about 4 months deep at this point. Just doing a ton of fun stuff over there. I do have the one show in the North South Connection. I do Talking Docs with Jenny and Roger. We're doing like a music season for our documentary series right now. But yeah, Backbone Wrestling Network, just check out everything there. I'm on Highway to the Impact Zone, linking up luchas. I do the cross up that you mentioned a couple of times, which is kind of a weekly look back at everything that happened in AEW, TNA, and WWE. I had a monster week. I think either last week or the week before.
With all the pay-per-views in one weekend.
Yeah, everything was Labor Day weekend. So there was a TNA show, there was a AEW show, there was a WWE show. So and then NXT was that weekend too. But I kind of split some of them up. I think I did 3 on one show. I think I did All In, Brash in Berlin, and Emergence for TNA all in one show. So it was a marathon for sure. But yeah, just check out everything over there. I do a few more shows, but those are the first few I'll mention just tonight. So but yeah, check out everything over there.
All right, cool. As for me, right now, this is my lone show here on the PlayStation Wrestling Network, but my primary home, PlayStation Pop Experience. Every weekday is the Video Jukebox Song of the Day. That's myself and Steve Riddle kind of alternating the episodes. Every other week is a theme week. Come check it out. It's a short little, usually they run 5 to 8 minutes of just us kind of talking about a music video and live watching it on the Pod Blast, and kind of talking about, whether we talk about the video or we talk about the song, how, for me, I do a lot of 80s and 90s music because that's, 80s when I grew up, 90s is my DJ days. So I kind of, introspect what was happening at the time and things going on. So it's a lot of fun to do, as well as my other shows. I recently dropped an episode of Blockbuster Rewatch. That is my live watch series where I look at big franchise movies. Right now, I'm still in Star Wars. Just got into the sequel trilogy with Grooney. We watched Force Awakens. Yeah. Hey, you want to talk about first on a podcast? Watching Force Awakens, he did, twice. All right. I heard him go pew, pew, pew in watching the...
Hey! I'm going to make the gun sound.
I'm going to make the gun sound there, sir. But yeah, no, it's fun. As much as we goof on Grooney, the guy knows his Star Wars. He's a big Star Wars guy. So it's a lot of fun. It's always fun having him on there. He's got a good heart, which is why we keep him around. Anyway, also I have Cartoons of Our Youth had a recent episode drop. That was myself and Tim Capel, who anything geek, comic, superhero related, I just sit back and awe and listen to him. And we just did Batman the Animated Series, which of course now, after he introduced me to Gargoyles, now this is my new weekend morning, I drink my coffee kind of show that I'm going to be watching for the next couple of months. So check that out. I love doing those shows. It's so much fun to be with somebody and they teach me about a show I'm not familiar with, and then we also have episodes where, like Sean and I gush about being old and talk about cartoons from the 80s. So it's a lot of fun. I'm hoping to bring back Laugh-In Theater here and there, especially with the holidays coming. I like to do the group watches for that. Miranda and I will look to try to get a new episode of the Muppet Pod out in the next couple of months. And Steve and I will be recording our next episode of Pop Goes the Classics. That's where we're looking at the Disney full-length animated features. And our next one is Bolt. So that's a movie I watched a lot. My son loved it as a little kid, so very familiar with that movie. Just check out everything we got going on here on the PlayStation Wrestling Network, PlayStation Pop Experience, the Backbone Wrestling Network, the North-South Connection podcast feed, the North-South Connection YouTube channel. Go to PlayStation.com each and every day. All the pods are featured on there, as well as some articles. and join the Place to Be Facebook group for discussions, tournaments, goofiness, just a good group to be part of.
And
okay.
Before we go,
yes.
One more thing. You were mentioning movies. I completely forgot. I have a brand new pod, actually, with Keithy Langston. He's going to be giving me a movie education where we're going to be watching movies I've never seen, which I think you mentioned the Logan 25 earlier. So
yes.
We're going to be expanding the Logan 25. He's going to give me – we're going to live watch movies. I'm going to watch it beforehand so I have a little bit of idea what the story is, who the characters are, kind of stuff going on throughout the movie. But we're going to live watch it together. He's going to be able to give me a little bit of a movie education. So that's a new one that's coming out pretty soon. So I just wanted to mention that because I heard you talking about movies, and I was like, oh, shit, I didn't mention the new pod.
Oh, no, I'm excited for you. That's a lot of fun, Look, we all have our spots where we, it'll be Logan Learns Movies, basically. Kind of like how they had Jeff Learns Wrestling, mm-hmm. or, the show that we like to joke about, the comic show we used to do. Hopefully it'll come back one day. Who knows? But Traders of the Lost Arks, the subtitle was Andy Learns Comics.
Yeah.
So, because I was never really a big comics reader, but I enjoyed reading the comics for the pod and talking about it. So it was a lot of fun. Yeah. So I'm happy for you. You're going to get to watch a lot of great movies. Keith is a great guy. I know the first episode, what you watch. It's a movie that I love. It's a movie I did on Laughing Theater actually already. So I hope everybody out there enjoys it and gets a different perspective on it, because that was a long time ago I did that movie, so it's always good for a fresh take. Yep. All right, so that brings a close to this episode of Who's Next. Thank you all for listening. For Logan Crosland, I am Andy Atherton. We'll see you on our next episode.